Hello, good evening. It's Tuesday. We're running a bit late today. I've had a few technical issues with my camera and a few other bits and pieces, but hopefully we are all good for the time being. Anyway, we shall see. This is going to be the Tuesday clinic, hopefully, if everything goes to plan. We've got some good games to look back on, actually, haven't we? Two good results for Arsenal. We'll talk about them. We've got a big game coming up this weekend as well. Another London derby against West Ham. That's going to be an interesting game, I'm sure. And we've got a really good archive section tonight. We're going to be looking at some unlikely Arsenal heroes. There's been a few of them over the years. So it could be a pretty good discussion, actually. So it's all to come at the other side of this. So good evening. I say we are finally with us. Hopefully we will survive the evening despite a few technical issues. But joining me as always, we've got a great panel. Melvin, good to have you back in new surroundings again. Have you got your internet working this week?
No, it is working. No, it is.
Good stuff. A bit better than what my equipment's working anyway, so that's a good start. So that's always good. And back against Dorsey, actually. Been missing the last few weeks. We've missed you. Good to have you back. You okay?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Yeah, just been a bit busy the last few weeks, so it's been a bit difficult trying to squeeze it in. But thanks for not forgetting about me.
No problem at all. You're a part of the team, so we're not going to forget about you. And coming back actually for another bit of punishment, we've got Steve as well, following his debut a couple of weeks ago. Good to have you back. You okay this week, Steve?
Rich, thank you very much for letting me back on the show again with your erstwhile colleagues. And always up for a bit of punishment, mate. And yeah, it's been good. Well, it's been busy. So hopefully we can rejoice the wins that we've had rather than the negative losses.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know last time you were on, we're kind of in the middle of a bit of a sticky patch, as it were. And luckily, we put that behind us, or it certainly seems to have done over the last week or so. I suppose the only place we can really go back a week or so to what turned out to be a quite a strange game in many ways. So that game against Chelsea, which last week when we spoke about it on the show, none of us were particularly confident that we'd get too much out of it, actually, as it turned out, and we were completely wrong, which is nice. It's always nice to be wrong about stuff like that. And yes, I think we were slightly fortunate at times in the game. Chelsea gifted us a few goals with some terrible defending, but ultimately you've got to make the most of those opportunities, and we did. And in the end, we actually won the game pretty comfortably and convincingly in the end, which was a surprise to most people, I'm sure. I mean, Melvin, you must have been delighted with how the game sort of finished. I mean, I thought we had some poor moments in it. We defended badly in the first half in particular, but ultimately we got the job done. And when was the last time we scored 4 away at Chelsea? Probably that time when Van Persie got that hat-trick, sort of, 10, 11 years ago. So it's not often we score that many goals there, is it? So that was a welcome surprise.
And it's not often we win away to a big club. It's not often we beat a decent club by 2 goals. I mean, it was just a bit surreal. The whole thing was a bit mad, like a basketball game, wasn't it? Going up one end and scoring, then the other team goes up the other end and scores. Luckily, we scored more than them. No, it was a bit of a weird game. I mean, the players that you didn't expect to do well, Eddie, he come into his own and looked a bit sharper, and he looked a bit like he wanted it a bit more. All this talk about, well, he's not playing well, he's sulking and he's leaving and all that. No one spoke about that because he actually did the business. So that was brilliant. Yeah, I mean, it was very weird. It could have a bit of similarities between the 2 games, really. Both games could have finished, either way. It could have been both games we could have drawn.
Yeah.
Both games we could have got beat. Even on Saturday, we could have got beat. We'll talk about it later, obviously. But it was very, very strange. I mean, the mistakes that were made by both teams, especially Chelsea, you're shaking your head going, hold on, is this a team that we watched a couple of weeks ago slaughter a European team? You know what I mean? It's like one of the top teams in Europe. What is going on? Talk about us being like chalk and cheese. Their performance was chalk and cheese. And I've had a couple of defenders missing, which might have made a big difference. But apart from that, they had a very, very strong team out. The only thing that was worrying for me was they had Lukaku playing. And however bad he is, he always seems to do well against us. So he must have hit rock bottom if he didn't do well against us. He must be finished, mustn't he? Because he'll always put in one against us. So I was quite happy about that.
Yeah.
No, listen, it was, I think if you remember last week, I said I didn't say we'd definitely win. I said we could win on the basis that we've got nothing to worry about. We're not the other team. We're not the underdogs. They were under pressure to get every point we can. We weren't under as much pressure as, say, away to Southampton, where we're expected to win. And in our brains, the team, I should think, was thinking it's 3 points, so we've got to get 3 points. Once things go wrong, they start to panic. With Chelsea, it's like, well, anything we get is a bonus. And that bit of feeling, I think, helped the team as well.
I mean, that's probably a fair enough comment, actually, because, you know, in the games that we're expected to win, certainly the 3 previous games, we were probably favourites to win all 3 of them, wasn't we? And we didn't get any results at all. And suddenly we play a game when we're not expected to get anything from, and it goes the other way. It's strange football sometimes, isn't it? You know, it never kind of always goes to how you expect it a lot of the time, but especially when it comes to Arsenal. And yeah, I mean, we did make a lot of mistakes, especially in the first half. We got away with it a little bit, and Chelsea made mistakes, and we punished them for it. And that's all that you can do, isn't it? You know, at the end of the day, you know, we're not the finished article yet. I think we all know that. But ultimately, it's about making sure that, I mean, Dorsey, obviously, we came into that Chelsea game on the back of those 3 really, really poor defeats. And although Southampton, we played pretty well, we just couldn't score. Suddenly against Chelsea, we probably didn't play as well, actually, over the 90 minutes as we had against Southampton, but we come away with a 4-2 win. I mean, it was a strange game, as Melvin said, really, wasn't it? Because it wasn't a normal Arsenal-Chelsea game, was it? It was so open. There was a lot of mistakes, and it could have ended up 6-6, really, when you look at the way the chances went.
Yeah, the scoreline could have ended up anything. It really could have done. I think all the time I've been doing this with Melvin, I think I've only ever disagreed with him twice. And tonight's one of them. I think there was a lot of pressure on us in that game. And not because we were away to Chelsea and expected to get anything, but purely because we were coming off the back of 3 defeats. I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere that we haven't lost 4 games on the spin since 1995 or something.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I think there's a lot of pressure going into that game just because of that. Not because anybody expected us to get anything from Chelsea. I mean, I went on, I can't even remember. I spoke to Albert on Albert JTV on Monday, I think it was last week. And I predicted a 2-0 defeat. I didn't see us scoring a goal. I didn't see us really keeping the ball or really trying to create anything. I was absolutely shocked the fact we managed to score 4 goals. It was a crazy game, and I don't think anybody, you can't really explain it. It's just one of those games, isn't it, that just happen every now and again. And like you say, we took our chances, which we had to do, because it's a huge win. If we'd lost that, I'm not sure we would have gone into United and got 3 points as well. I think it looked like it was kind of spiraling a little bit out of control, coming off the back of those 3 defeats. So yeah, the Chelsea wins was huge. Losing to Southampton, that was me done in terms of top 4. I genuinely thought that was our chances gone. But coming off the back of the last 2 games, I actually think now we're in pole position again. But it'll probably change again in 2 weeks' time, and it'll be completely different. But yeah, a very, very strange game. Always nice to beat Chelsea. Can't stand that lot. So it was always nice to beat them, and especially at the Bridge as well. Yeah, it felt good coming off that, and enabled me to go into the United game with a little bit more confidence, put it that way. So bizarre football match. But a shout out to Saka for that penalty, because the fact that he's never taken a penalty before, really, other than the one for England in the summer, and to step up and take that penalty. I mean, I've said it all season. It's as much as he's a talented footballer, his mentality is way beyond his years. He's so strong mentally. It's ridiculous. So for him to step up and take that and put it away, fair play to the boy, because that takes some nuts to do that, I think. So
I thought actually, you know, Dorsey, to say it, I mean, yeah, it took a lot of courage and bottle to do that. But ultimately, I suppose when you look at it, it was in stoppage time. We were 3-2 up. There was less pressure on that penalty than, say, if it had been 0-0 or if we'd been losing 1-0. in the last minute. And I think he wanted to take it because he knew that was a great opportunity to put that demon aside from the summer. He could took a penalty with no pressure, obviously some pressure, but not as much pressure as a normal penalty might be. And I think that the fact that he did that and he scored that penalty gave him the confidence to take the one against Man United. I'm not sure if he would have took the one against Man United at that point in the game at 1-0 with such a crucial penalty if he hadn't took that other one against Chelsea with less pressure. But I mean, brilliant to step up both of them 2 penalties. Brilliant to stick them away.
The other thing is, how are people saying that's not a penalty? I genuinely don't understand it. I mean, again, I mean, we've talked about refereeing decisions against us all season in these Tuesday clinics, so it's not a surprise that everybody all of a sudden decides that that's not a penalty. But Azpilicueta, and I really rate Azpilicueta. I think he's a brilliant player and he's been a brilliant servant for Chelsea, but he just got himself all tied up in knots, and there was no way that is not a penalty in any game.
No. It was what it was. I mean, they're not always given, unfortunately, because you do see a lot of incidents, especially from set pieces, usually pulling back and holding players. That was in just an open play situation, and he's got completely in a muddle, hasn't he, Azpilicueta, and ended up wrestling him to the ground. And it was a penalty, and it was a good spot by the referee, and it was a good decision. And finally, we got something going our way. And yeah, I mean, it was a big moment for Saka. I mean, not so much in the game it turned itself, but for him personally to take that penalty in a London derby away from home, and that was great that when he scored, it was such a relief as well. And you know, I'm sure it must have been for him, but just for us as well to experience that with him, because you know we saw what happened to him obviously in the summer, and I was. You know, the way he grabbed that ball as well to say, I'm taking this. And he wasn't even supposed to, was he? Because Mikel Arteta said it was supposed to be Martinelli on the penalties. And he just sort of grabbed the ball, I'm having this. And that showed a lot, like you said, it showed his character as well for such a young player. It's just incredible. Yeah. And, you know, obviously it was great that he scored as well, which made it even better, really. I mean, Steve, you must have obviously enjoyed beating Chelsea, as we all did. But just the way that, as Dorsey rightly says, actually, I mean, there was pressure on us, the fact that we'd lost the previous 3 games. And although it's not a game we generally would be expected to get much from historically, certainly in recent years, to go there the way that we did. And yes, we didn't play brilliantly all the way through the game, but we took our chances. And that was an important victory. And it could prove to be a pivotal, actually, now, couldn't it, between now and the end of the season? That could be the game that's turned things around. Because I agree with Dorsey. I thought the top 4 was over after Southampton, really. 3 defeats in a row at that point. It looked over with the games we had coming up. But that Chelsea game seems to have, and we'll talk about obviously what happened after that as well, but it seems to be that could be the pivotal moment of the season, couldn't it, almost?
The catalyst that does it. I've got to say, for the last 20, 30 minutes, I thought I was going to throw up with nerves. I kicked every ball. I wandered up and down. I was screaming like an absolute idiot. So there's a couple of things to pick up. If you look at this, honestly, we've all done that, haven't we? Statistically speaking, we shouldn't have won that. We should not have won that game, right? You know, they had 704 passes compared to 332 of ours. They had 68% possession and 32 as opposed to 32 for us. And on target, they had 11 shots and 2 on target. We had 14 shots and 4 on target. So we shouldn't have won it. It was like clown school for the first 20, 30 minutes, because it was just the ball was going from one end to the other. And I'm sitting there thinking, we're either going to be heroes today. And well done on Eddie with that Christensen ball when he paid it back. What was he thinking? And Alonso was absolutely getting skinned every single time Saka got hold of that ball. So it was amazing. And one of the things I did tweet out actually midway through the game is that Tuchel was disrespecting our midfield. And what he tried to do is overload it. And we'll talk about the Mount tackle as well on that, vicious as it was and all the way through the game. But what he tried to do is actually overload our midfield, and he was disrespecting the fact that likes of Odegaard, Eddie and everybody else that sits around have got blistering pace on the back, and it was that little ball over the back and then bang, we're on them. We're absolutely on them. Sarr, totally useless, should not actually be in that Chelsea team. Like, absolutely, and shouldn't have been on the pitch, let alone actually playing for them. Yeah. So we absolutely grabbed that. And Tuchel at the end of it, bitter and twisted as he is, It's our ground. The ground was this. And we're sorry, pal, it's your ground. Yeah, and we battered you on it. So and I hold back. It is absolutely the catalyst. And you saw that going into the Manchester United game, an uplift, a different beat, the way that we actually worked and ran at it. So you look at that team, though. You look at that Chelsea team, and again, for me, Kante, that guy can run and run and run and run and run. It's just the engine on him was just made to look average. Absolutely average, and Odegaard played really, really well. Saka, just again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. The maturity of such a young kid, right, to step up and take that penalty, I couldn't even watch the game without throwing up and being stressed, let alone actually get that penalty stick and then stick it in, and with aplomb as well. No messing around. Absolutely buried that ball in. So. You're absolutely right. I think myself and millions of others didn't expect us to win, and it was like so what? But I think you're right. What it's done for the team, the effort, the way that we ran, and just for the statistics to show that we shouldn't have won that. You say Lukaku again. It was we just played him off the park. We showed him the disrespect that he deserves. And we showed that team exactly how we should play. I kind of, and again, it goes back to the last 3 games that we were supposed to win. You're not supposed to win any games of Premiership, but the ones that on paper we should have won.
Yeah.
We would be top 4 now. We'd have won those. If we'd have come away with those 9 points, we'd be top 4. It would be a problem, and the Spurs, West Ham and Spurs wouldn't be as vital as they're going to be for us right now. So back to what we're saying is that. From an accuracy perspective, from a passes perspective, from a possession perspective, shots on goal, shots on target, the whole piece, we should not have won that game, right? But we did, and we did it with aplomb. And I was, again, really proud. I had to sit down 5 minutes afterwards to get my heart rate back down. But oh my God, what a game! What an absolutely brilliant game, and one I couldn't actually believe that we went in and didn't. So sorry to the team for my disrespect and not trusting you. But oh my God, was I a happy man? Was I jumping around my front room?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all were, to be fair, because it was an incredible game. Apart from anything else, I mean, yes, it's a better game when we win, but it was an incredible game of football. I mean, every neutral watching that game must have enjoyed it because it had pretty much everything, didn't it?
Yeah.
It had excitement, controversy, lots of goals, lots of mistakes, and quality as well, some great quality. I mean, you mentioned N'Golo Kante there, and if he played against Arsenal every week, he wouldn't have the reputation that he does because he's never had a good game against us, even when he played for Leicester, never. And I don't know what it is. He never seems to play well against us, does he? Do you remember that when he slipped over when Martinelli scored a few years ago?
God, did he get? Okay, yeah, and that should be replayed and sent to him on a regular basis by every.
But it's every time he's played against us. I say even in his Leicester days, that season he played for Leicester, he didn't have a good game against us. That season he hasn't played well against us for Chelsea, and I don't know what it is. It just seems to be we've got some sort of thing over him that he never plays well against us, which is great because he is a great player and he can have a great influence on the game. So it's a good thing for us. But it's just strange that he always seems to have a nightmare when he plays us. And is that because we set up to stop him? I don't know what it is, but it seems to work because, as I say, he always has a bad game.
The other one as well as Smith Rowe's goal. Wasn't that just beautiful? That was just.
It was lovely. What a finish as well! First time from the edge of the box, just passed it in the corner. Just incredible finish. And
just that move as well. And it just, I think. And I think we talked about it before, is that he's obviously carrying it. I think he's carrying an injury because he's not the same as he was at the beginning. But it was just that flash of brilliance to just run onto that ball and just smash it straight to the back of the net. Oh my Lord. I honestly, I threw the cat. So I threw the cat, the whole lot.
You should play centre half for West Ham if you did that.
They need some centre halves actually, so you never know. But yeah, I mean, it was a lovely finish. It was a great move as well, wasn't it? I mean, what Xhaka did as well at the start of that move, playing the ball out from the penalty area. Look, we were in a bit of trouble. He brought the ball forward, started that attack, and a fantastic counter attack. And that's something that's one thing that I've been impressed about under Mikel Arteta. The main thing is the counter attacking football that we play is so much better and effective now than it's been for a long, long time. It's almost set up perfectly for away games, isn't it? In a lot of ways, and we did have a good away record. We won 5 in a row, didn't we? Until the defeat against Crystal Palace. So it has been working, and that was a typical example of that goal. Brilliant counter-attacking goal, and that's the one thing that I say I really enjoy watching us is when we attack like that. It's not always so good at home because we're often not counter-attacking at home, are we? And that's probably why it's more frustrating. But that's one aspect that really has improved, and that was a great goal. We got a few comments in. Neil's in the chat. He said, "Evening, lads. Yeah, evening, Neil. How you doing, mate? Good to see Luca as well." Neil says, "You're going to have to bear with me because I'm trying to sort out my mouse as well." Neil says one of the keys was bringing back Xhaka into midfield. Yeah, it was. That was a massive, big decision that I'd say I got right, and doing a great job working with El Neni, who was awesome with Ovid. Yeah, we're going to talk about El Neni a little bit later as well. And of course, as Neil says there, unleashing Eddie paid off. It did. I mean, he didn't have a great game against Southampton, really, did he? He didn't get any opportunities, but in that game, he took them when he came, and fantastic game from Eddie. As well. Loki says, "Good evening." Yep, good evening, my friend. Hope you are well. Robert's in the chat as well. He says, "Superb last 2 results indeed. Nice to hear a Gooner channel that's not screaming at each other or saying big up every 5 seconds." Yeah, we try not to get involved in all of that kind of
Big up, Robert.
Yeah. And Robert says they can't let it slip on Sunday. West Ham back 4 injured, looking good. But yeah, exactly. We'll talk about the West Ham game in a little while because they've got a little bit bigger fish to fry this week, haven't they, in Europe? So that game may not be their priority. Well, let's hope so anyway, but we'll see how that one plays out. And Neil says that ESR goal was started by brilliant work. We're saying, yeah, we said that, at the back after Holding got into difficulties. Yeah, I mean, Xhaka, he's another player I want to talk about a little bit as well, maybe when we get onto the Man United game, because he had a big part to play in that particular game. But you can see that the squad's weak. We know the squad's still in depth terms. Yeah. It's not strong enough, is it, to compete for anything other than what we're competing for, which is one particular thing, which is getting the top 4. If we was in cup competitions now in Europe, we would be massively struggling. But you can see that there are players on the bench or in the squad, if you like, that have been on the bench that can come in. Rob Holding comes in and does a job. Mohamed El Neni, we'll talk about, came in and done a job. And we have got some players there. And it's just, if we can just improve the squad depth, even just doing that will make us a lot more competitive next season over a whole season, I think. And you can see that we're not far away, but it's still 1 or 2 issues that we've still got. And I thought the Chelsea game maybe covered up a little bit of them because we won. And, you don't want to focus too much on the things that didn't go well. But, we can maybe talk about it a little bit more by looking actually at the game at the weekend, which was another incredible game, actually. Two incredible games in a row. I can't remember the last time in the Premier League that we beat Chelsea and Man United back to back. I can't remember when we did. We may never have done. But certainly hasn't been for a long, long time, has it? We don't often probably play them back to back anyway. But the fact that we followed up the Chelsea game with what was another really important victory. But a bit like the Chelsea game, it was quite a strange game as well. Obviously Steve mentioned the statistics there. The Man United game statistics would have been even more in favour of Man United than the Chelsea ones were in favour of Chelsea, because they had a lot more, or it seemed to be the way the game went. They seemed to have a lot more possession. They seemed to have a lot more opportunities to score. I mean, obviously Steve can tell us about that. He's got them written down by the look of it, which is great. So we can talk about that. But that's just how it appeared from watching the game. Man United looked as though they gave as good as they got in that game. And there was a few key moments, as we'll talk about. But overall, again, we took our chances at the right time. We got the goals when we needed them. And, although Man United have had a lot of problems, we know that. That was another good victory, wasn't it, Melvin? And it was good to follow up Chelsea with a good victory against, a top 6 rival, a top 4 rival, because that's what they are. Regardless of the season that they've had, they're still a rival of ours, challenging for that top 4. They were, maybe not so much now. And that was a good victory, wasn't it? And we did it in an unusual way for a home game, I thought. It was more of a counter-attacking performance at home, which we don't normally see, do we?
I think the reason we might have done it that way, Richard, is because we got such an early lead. We didn't counter attack for the first goal. We were on them for the first 5 minutes, got the goal. I thought we just laid off a little bit. I was very worried sitting there, I must admit, because they looked like they were going to score every time they attacked.
Yeah, they did.
Not many times I felt like that watching the Arsenal recently, the last year or so. Every time they had very, very skillful, fast forwards and midfielders for that matter. Yeah. And I think we got away with it a little bit. I'm not knocking us because I want us to win every game. I want us to get away with everything. But we did. We got to be honest and say we got away with it. We could have had a couple of penalties given against us first half. That one with where the our left back pushed that geezer, a very fast guy.
Langer, yeah.
I mean, that was quite. I mean, had that been given, you couldn't have gone, oh my God, you would have said, what a stupid thing for us to do. But so anyway, that's that. But it was a great game, great atmosphere, great to be there and feeling all the emotions you go through. Sitting there looking at the clock every 2.5 seconds, I think it's 5 minutes, all those type of things. And then you say to yourself, no, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to look another 10. I'm not going to look again. And then when we got our third, I said to my son, Craig, I went, right, we've got to hold them now for 5 minutes because we've been given a goal away recently. Just we hold it for 5 minutes. I think we've got half a chance. I know we're 2 goals up, but you're still not that confident. Because you fancy if they'd have got a second one straight after we'd scored our third, I think anything could have happened. So, but there was some very good football played. I mean, so the normal people stepped up. El Neni, what I noticed about him, and I've watched him for years, obviously, and to me, he's been the old back sideways back. But what he was doing, I've never seen him do. He must have had an operation in the last couple of years. He's managing to drop his shoulder. Now, I've never seen him do that before. He did it so many times, just dropping his shoulder and the United players going the wrong way. That never happens to him. With him, he beat a player by bypassing the player with the ball. But this time, he's going past the player with the ball and making space for himself, moving into channels, which I thought was fantastic. I mean, it's like one of those things. If you suddenly see this player, we got him in January, and it's his first game. You go, God, what a bargain we got! 25 million, what a bargain! So let's hope that carries on. The left back again is raw. He's doing a job for us. He's got to play there because we can't have Xhaka there because Xhaka's too important for us in midfield, and we've got no one else really. But he's got to play. But he is raw. He gives the ball away too many times, and he doesn't fill the room. He doesn't fill the pitch when he's got a chance of going past someone or not. The amount of times he takes someone on, he's got amazing speed, and yet he still gets beat. You're thinking, what'd you do that for? And I think I said after the game, I can't believe we beat Man United with Cedric and Tavares playing the way they did on Saturday, and we did it. I think that again, someone told me last night on a pod that Ben White might be having an injury because I was a bit critical of him the way he's been playing recently. He might have been injured. I don't know if he has. Fair enough. I think the only one in the defence that really I thought was really good, very good, was Gabriel. I think even the goalkeeper was a bit shaky, some of his distribution. We'll have to take that. I mean, he saved us as well on Saturday a couple of times. So I know that it's no real excuse, but he's still a very, very good goalkeeper. He's only 23, and hopefully, as someone told me last night, that he will improve with like goalies do. They don't reach peak till 28, 30, some of them. So he's only 23. It's a long way to go. No, it's a very strange game. Very strange. And, you're always nervous at home when you play against Spurs, whatever the score is, or Man United, or teams like that. But that was extra charge on Saturday. It was like, what you want. It's like when you're at home and you're watching a game through your fingers. You know what I mean? It's a little bit like that.
Yeah, it was.
And it wasn't until that was like, we knew it was 4 minutes extra time. And you can go and breathe. We've done it. Because even we would like to think couldn't even mess that one up. But it's great to do it because we scored another 3 goals. Could have had more, in all fairness. Yeah. So we scored 4 one day, 3 at the next. I mean, that's unheard of as well, isn't it? So let's just keep it going. Yeah. I mean, I reckon what they do at Arsenal, because we've had our ups and downs like no other team, really. We're like 1 week, like we have a run of 5 games looking outstanding, then absolute like dross for 2 or 3 games. Do you reckon they actually train on seesaw, the Arsenal squad? I just think it could be a way they do it. So they should stop that. They should just do it on grass, level grass, train on grass, and you might be better off. But no, really, at the end of the day, really enjoyed it. That's what football's all about. That's what being an Arsenal supporter is all about. Yeah,
it is. You're right. And, it's I can't remember 2 games back to back as strange as those 2 games, actually. When you look at them, they just was very... I don't know, just unusual games, and whether it was because of the opposition, the way the games played out, I'm not sure. But you sort of felt both of those games were just, the Chelsea game, thought, that's a one-off. You'll never see a game like that again. And then 3 days later, we see a game almost exactly the same or very similar in the strangeness of it, really. And obviously, we got the results in both the games, so that's fantastic. And there was obviously a few key moments in that game, wasn't there? I mean, Dorsey, the penalty for Man United at 2-1. You know, my fear at that point was if they scored, they would have probably won that game because they were in the ascendancy at that point anyway, and we were hanging on a little bit, weren't we? And that was a massive moment, wasn't it? Did you feel confident that he was going to score? Because I know he's missed a few penalties, but he's generally, you know, Bruno Fernandes, he's generally pretty reliable from the penalty spot, isn't he, overall?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much echo what Melvin said about the game. It was, again, just a very, very strange game. I think it was almost coming off the back of those 3 defeats, getting the win against Chelsea the way we did. It was kind of, you put yourself back in a position where you can maybe look like you could possibly get top 4 again. So I think, again, there was probably even more pressure on the United game, knowing that we had to follow up Chelsea with another decent result. So, and again, to come away with that with 3 points is fantastic. But yeah, in terms of the penalty, I mean, I saw it on social media anyway, but if I was a United fan and they've let Bruno Fernandes take that penalty over Ronaldo, I just thought, where was the logic in that?
I didn't understand.
Say what you want about Cristiano. It's not. If there is ever a guy you want for big moments in any game, it's him. He is mentally, he's unbreakable. It's criminal that they didn't let him take it. Absolutely criminal. Obviously, we're glad of that fact because Ronaldo probably would have scored. I don't like Fernandes anyway. I won't go into why, but I don't particularly like him as a player. I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be either. He goes down every 2 seconds without anything touching him. Yeah, so it was nice to see him win it. I enjoyed Ramsdale's celebration right in front of him. That was nice to see. But yeah, again, just a very, very strange game. But going back to what Melvin was saying about Tavares, I had I say an argument. It wasn't really an argument. It was more of a debate online the other day about him. And it's people saying, yeah, he's young, he is raw. And I'm not taking anything away from that. But the mistakes he makes are basic mistakes. That it's not through any other. It's not because he's learning. You know, the mistakes that he's making, he should already have that in his locker. He shouldn't be making those mistakes. So it's but credit to Mikel because I know he dropped him. I know we tried Xhaka at left back. We all knew that didn't work. And he's put him back in. And I don't know whether you saw the clip where he had a quick chat with Nuno on the sideline. He was trying to G him up. And I just think that's people have a pop at Mikel saying he's lost the dressing room. Players don't. You know, it's rubbish. Those players are playing for him on the pitch. And I think given where we are at this point in the season, I couldn't care less about the performance. For me, it's just about points and results. We obviously all want us to play champagne football and score loads of goals and win games 5-6-0. But right now, it's not about that. So it's about grinding out results and what we do, I think now, touching on your earlier point, Rich, that something that's really improved is we manage games so much better than we used to.
Yeah, we do.
I know sometimes it does blow up in our face a little bit, but more often than not, if we get ourselves in a position where we can get 3 points, I genuinely think we manage the game a lot better than we used to. So, yeah, a cracking 2 results, not necessarily the performances. We all sat there nervous and running around and screaming and shouting and throwing things at the TV, but ultimately it's 6 points out of the last 2 games, which is great. I took a snapshot the other day actually of the bottom half of the league table, and I couldn't help after that United game but be frustrated. 11th was Brighton, we got beat. Brentford, we lost against them. Southampton, we lost. Palace, we lost. Burnley, we drew at home. Everton, we lost. And I looked at that and I just thought, how frustrating is that? And you go and beat Chelsea away, and you know, we played really well against Man City at home.
I mean, you're right about all them results, and they are frustrating. But also, we've lost twice to Man City. We've lost twice to Liverpool. You know, we've lost to Man United away.
Well, we've
beaten anybody actually, but we've lost to the top teams and the bottom teams, haven't we? So I'm not quite sure who we've beaten, but obviously we've won enough games. But it's just funny, isn't it? That, you know, there's a lot of, you know, I mean, I can remember the days when the bottom half of the league, we generally win all them games, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
Every season against all of them. regardless of where they were. And yes, we would struggle against the top teams, and they're the top quite often, particularly away from home. But you could generally guarantee that we'd win 99% of the games against everyone from sort of 12th position down to the bottom usually. And it's evened itself out now. We may be picking up more results against the bigger teams. Obviously, this week we've done it twice, and we've done it earlier in the season as well. We beat Tottenham at home, etc. But now we may be losing to some of those other teams more often than we ever used to kind of counteract it a little bit, which is quite strange. And is that because we're a young team still, and we've still got a little bit of inexperience? I mean, we talked about Tavares, and that's a typical example, isn't it? You know, I do think he is young, and I think Neil's got a comment here about him. He says Tavares will get better. He offers something going forward. Oh, he definitely does, but he has to improve defensively. Don't forget, Bellerin was similar when he first started. I think Bellerin was a lot more solid defensively than Tavares is, without a shadow of a doubt. Yes, he wasn't as good as he became, but he was certainly much stronger defensively. And Tavares, for me, you know, I was pleased when he scored because he has took a lot of stick. He got left out of the team. He's been cast to one side a little bit. He's got back in. He scored a goal, and I was so delighted for him that he scored. But unfortunately, after that, he was a liability most of the game, unfortunately. Giving the ball away at really dangerous positions in the pitch. You know, he doesn't seem to know when to pass and when to, when to pass simple, just to pass back to keep possession, or when to try and do something a little bit more clever. And sometimes he loses himself. And I mean, I had a Benfica fan on the channel last season when we played him, and he had actually was criticising. We didn't know Nuno Tavares was going to come to us at that point, and he was saying how terrible he was defensively. And he was a player that he said, you know, you want to target him because he can't defend. And now we bought him to play left back, which is there you go. But and he's proved right because he has been a liability defensively. But I like the guy. You know, he seems to have something about him going forward, certainly. And maybe a left back isn't his position. Maybe he needs to be higher up on the pitch, a winger. Maybe play him left wing. You know, and he gets himself into some great forward positions. You know, Arteta must have been pulling it out. I mean, Steve, when we were 2-1 up in the second half, he's the left back. Man United were on top, and he was bombing forward, playing centre forward sometimes. And it's like Mikel Arteta doesn't like that, does he? He likes players to be very structured.
It was interesting. It was interesting to watch him actually. So first off, I got to send all my love out to all the fans at 7 minutes. We all clapped Ronaldo because that's pure respect. That's pure respect for that, and you know, that's why I love this team, and I love all the fan base around just because we did that. A flip to that is Ronaldo was a twat for putting one on Tomiyasu at 94 minutes. So get over it, you know, from that perspective. But anyway, look, there's a couple of things with Tavares. Number one, the knee slide. I can't stop laughing and I can't stop watching it. It's the Asbro turf. Get real with it.
He's not scored before, has he? So that's why he's not used to it. Is he?
Right, but I think there's a couple of things. Him and Sambi the same. Is that I genuinely think that we have got some real good talent there. The engine on him is unbelievable. Like the foot races with Elanga that he had, and Elanga is monstrously quick. He's absolutely devastating in the way that he runs. He was keeping up, and we're absolutely right. So from a defensive perspective, that guy needs something intensive from the coaching perspective. And you're right. Up until about 92 minutes, I think he was putting a cross into the like he was up in their box trying to score again and everything else. When really just stay still, let everybody else around him. I'd like to see him go on loan. I'd like him in a championship where he's beating the living daylights out of each other in some horrible Yorkshire, moors somewhere or the other, running around and getting at and cutting his teeth. And if you think about Emil Smith Rowe when he first came in, he had that spell up at Huddersfield, I think it was. It just transformed his play because they're playing hard physical games where defence is really, that whole piece, that playmaking, and it didn't. And I think for him, it will do him the world of good. So I do think we've got a good player there. You're absolutely right. Left back might not be a good one. The other one I was thinking about, because if we, fingers crossed and everything, everything goes well for us to get top four, we're going to have to, this squad, it has to expand. Like I was watching Godfrey on the Everton-Liverpool game. Now, if he stops rolling around, that kid, as a backup to Tierney, absolutely, I just think he was absolutely brilliant, bombing up, and he was terrorising Liverpool. So that's one that and I don't wish ill on any team, but honestly, if Fat Frank gets them relegated, then that's one I definitely want to be picking out of that team. But no, you're right. I think there's and there was a shift actually. When we talk about it, that if we go right back a couple of games, Xhaka at left back, So I think Arteta has actually he's probably listened to you, Rich, when we had our last session on the pod, to be honest with you, mate. So rather than weaken our best part, which is the midfield, with Xhaka playing in midfield, and that double nutmeg that he did at Chelsea was absolutely legendary, right?
Yeah.
What he did is actually, bringing El Neni in to strengthen that area that we needed. So Thomas Partey not being there, and it's good news to see him training again. But what he then did, and that's given us strength and stability back again, right, in that area, so that we can actually start to dominate and actually drive. And I've got to take my hat off to El Neni. I know we're going to go on to that, but from a Tavares perspective, they're gonna focus on him. So bringing someone like Holding on, and actually keep it. I think it's vitally important that we keep him. To be honest with you, to have somebody to come in, help drive. And if you watch the conversation that was going on between them, oh my God, he was in Nuno's ear all the time, talking all the way through the game. So you're right. I don't want him bombing on when we're 2-1 up against Man United. I just don't. Just stay where you are, right, and defend outside of the box, because you have a habit of causing penalties. The other one was all the Man United fans bitching and whinging about Cedric falling over and handballing it. Well, actually, the rules say he can if he handballs it while he's on the floor, lying on the floor after being tackled, and what was a foul anyway. But it's irrelevant whether it's inside the box or not. That's what the rules are. So get over it, move on. You lost. That whole team, so the whole Man United team, there were 3 players that wanted to actually play, right? There were 3 players. That was Elanga, that was Jordan Sancho, and you had Cristiano Ronaldo. The rest of them were too scared. They were too scared to run for him. Bruno Fernandes and his ridiculous way that he takes his penalties is a disgrace anyway. So he deserves it, And I think I tweeted you with that penalty princess thing that's going around at the moment. So ultimately, you look at that team. There's 3 players, but the rest of them couldn't be bothered. Like the rest of them just seem to either be at the beach somewhere or the other, or just didn't want to actually be there. So for me, when we look,
I think maybe you could have McTominay into that. I think he looked as though he was up for it a bit. I mean, considering he had no help around him in midfield, I thought. Yeah,
and the punch up in the penalty box that he got nothing for. Like, better physically picked someone up and threw him down and got into it. Yeah, I think it was Gabriel he was with, Like, I'm sorry, leg breaker, as I like to call him, and I've tweeted this out. Like, the guy is just the Man United version of Shawcross. That's all he is. He's a thug. He's not actually for me, he's not particularly skilled in the way that he does it. He's not particularly, he's just a thug that thinks that, he's the next Roy Keane. Well, pal, you ain't, because Roy Keane actually could play football, he can't. The stupid thing, like slapping the ball out of Saka's hand when he was taking the penalty. Over yourself. Like, honestly, be a professional. You pampered idiot. So I'm getting depressing, as you can probably tell. So for me, the whole part of it, we were a very solid unit. Believe it or not, statistically, we actually had 55% of the possession. Right, we actually had 509 passes in comparison to 412. Man United just didn't want to play as a team. They just didn't want to play. It's fractured, and this Den Haag, they're all going, oh, you know what he's going to do? He's going to get rid of all of the troublemakers that are in a team, and he's going to bring them back together again. Kind of what Arteta's done over the last couple of years. Don't burn me, right, mate? Don't burn me on that one. Don't burn me. But I kind of think back, and I think back at that Man United team. I think back when Mourinho tried to do exactly that. We went in a different way. So for me, top 6 contenders, we played our hearts out. And again, Martin Odegaard was just absolutely legendary. Like for the money that we paid, we have robbed Real Madrid. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love 35 million in my bank account, but for the money that we paid for that player, he has actually transformed our midfield. Arteta finally realised that putting Xhaka in the left, that's actually all he's done is weaken our midfield. And when people, when people don't realise the amount of pace that Smith Rowe's got, Martinelli's got, that Saka's got, and the work rate of Odegaard, like Tuchel did, they pay the price, and that's what happened. Like, Sancho absolutely was just beaten up. He got absolutely beaten up. When Tomiyasu came on last part, on this, when Tomiyasu came on, he looked absolutely on it. He was that sprint up the line where Ronaldo just bitter and twisted, booted him out. I think that also goes back to Italy. And if you look at the YouTube clips of what Tomiyasu did to Ronaldo, absolutely bossed him. But I go back to what you say. Ronaldo to me is just a different player. He's an absolute different player. It's like watching. I remember watching Barcelona when they came to the Emirates. Neil Nenny played in that. Didn't Neil Nenny score? I seem to remember.
He scored away against Barcelona.
He scored in Barcelona.
So I remember watching them. I just remember watching the players, the way they moved the ball around. I remember Koscielny kicking the living daylights out of Messi, absolutely bashing him. But that's what Man United sort of tend to try to portray themselves as, but they're not. We're just a bunch of grafters. We've got some young kids, we've got some grafters in, and we definitely need to look at it. And I can see that Gabriel Jesus has scored again, so let's put another 10 million on his price tag. So I just think having that sort of that's the next step, I think, for the team. But Rich, you're absolutely right. Don't be running up the field against Manchester United when we need you to defend, please. If not, you're off to Stoke for a year.
I mean, that's the one thing that Arteta is so. You can tell by the way that we play and the way he sets the team up. The one thing he wants is everybody to do the job at the right times.
Yeah.
And Nuno he's a little bit of a loose cannon, isn't he? He just charges about, and obviously dangerously at times as well, because he's losing the ball when he's caught out of position. But what I thought was good, actually, on 2 or 3 occasions in the second half when he did that, Xhaka naturally dropped in and covered for him.
Yeah.
And so we didn't get exposed as we may have done in other games. So that was good to see that Xhaka actually maybe anticipated when he's going forward, he might lose it, I'm going to drop in. And he did that on a few occasions, didn't he? And when we did lose the ball, at least we had cover there and we didn't get punished. So, but yeah, it's something he needs to work on, Nuno. And I'm sure the coaches will be there. I'm sure they have been in the last few weeks, been trying to get him to defend better, or maybe just make him naturally think about defending before he goes charging up the pitch, because it's going to cause us problems the rest of the season if we're not careful. Neil says, of course we would love to have been better both games, but you have to agree, fantastic entertainment. Well, it was brilliant game to watch. I mean, 2 of the best games of the season in terms of excitement, enjoyment to watch. Brilliant, absolutely. And Neil says, and 6 points is the most important thing. Exactly, yeah. I mean, winning the games is what matters, but if you can enjoy the game, it's exciting as well. That's even better, isn't it? Neil mentioned there about Jesus scoring as well. 2-1 City. Next Legends, Jesus has scored again. Well, he's on a bit of form at the minute, isn't he? So, yeah, it's going to cost us a bit more maybe. But we'll see. Neil says El Neni registered the best shots, if I'm not wrong. The best stats. Sorry, yeah, I think his stats were good. I think Xhaka's stats were good as well, actually. And Stephen says, hi, guys. How's everyone? Hope you're all good. Yeah, we're good, mate. Hope you are as well. I mean, I do want to, just before we finish the Man United game, I did want to talk about the Granit Xhaka goal. He doesn't tend to score tap-ins, does he? He doesn't get a lot of goals, but when he scores them, they tend to be quite special. And, I mean, that was another fantastic strike from him. And I know he gets a lot of stick, and I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Granit Xhaka. I've got to be honest. I love his attitude on the pitch. He clearly loves playing for Arsenal. You can see how much the other players like him and respect him as well. And I thought it was great to see, one, he's playing well, but to get that goal and the way that everybody, the crowd, the players, that everybody responded to that goal in such a positive way with all the stick that he's had. And I thought that was great, actually. It was great to see that, I'm not saying that everybody's forgiven him because he scores 1 goal, but I think people are starting to appreciate now how important he is to the team and how actually well he's been playing. Not just on Saturday, but actually how well he's been playing generally throughout the season. Again, I thought he had a good season last year. I think he's had a solid season this year. And you can, as we said, take him out of midfield. We missed him. Put him back in midfield, and suddenly we start playing better and winning games. And I don't think it's a coincidence. But I mean, Melvin, that was a great strike. I mean, what was the reception like in the ground for that? I know it was an important goal, but actually the fact it was Granit Xhaka, and it seemed to be the celebrations for that goal seemed to be really good for him as well. He seemed to get a lot out of that, didn't he? Because he's had a bit of a problem with the crowd. He even said so himself in an interview, didn't he? But it was a good moment, wasn't it?
Over the past year or so, that aggravation he's had with the crowd's got nothing to do with what he did against Palace. That's all. I think that's nearly forgotten now. People that hate him will bring that up. People that just want to watch the football, forgotten about it. Right? I think I'm not a fan of his, but he's been playing so well. I can't swim against the tide with him. He's been. I've got to change my view, be honest about it, and say he's very important to us. I never thought I'd ever say that. I don't enjoy watching him sometimes because he does stupid things, but that's Xhaka for you. But that strike was one of the most cleanest strikes I've ever seen, especially at the Emirates. Bloody hell. It was like an arrow. When I watched it live, I mean, I got dodgy eyesight anyway. I thought, what happened there? You know what I mean? It's foot 1 minute and something hit the net. It couldn't have been the ball, but it was. It was fantastic. I mean, lucky it had a net because someone in the crowd would have been knocked out if it hit him. So, I mean, it was a really, I mean, every time he does something, I watch him all the time, and I'm thinking, where's this been? You know, and what I think I've noticed about in the last couple of years, he rises in the bigger games, right? What big games we have, he seems to put it like Chelsea in the FA Cup. I noticed it at first. He was one of our best players in that cup final. He was terrific.
Yeah.
He had a really. I'm thinking, wow, you're playing, and that Chelsea are a good team. They were the champions when we beat them in the final.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Bloody hell. You know, you can do it. You don't shy away against the big teams. You're actually doing it against the big teams. And he's done it against United a couple of times as well. And that's what I like to see. So, yeah, I thought, he's been playing very, very well. And it was good for him to get that goal. Good for the crowd. I mean, I don't think they need winning over because people have got their agendas, whether they like him or not. That's not going to change. I've actually changed. I actually want to see his name on the team sheet now, which I never thought I'd ever say. But no, you've got to be honest, and you've got to say it as you see it. And he may not be what I want to see in a couple of years' time to get to another level if we can, but for what at the moment where we are at the moment, he's so important for us. And just about, I don't know who, I think it might be News Steve that said the manager learned that to play him left back wasn't going to work. Well, anyone could have said that a year ago. We know that. You don't have to fall off a mountain to know it's going to hurt you. You know, we knew that he cannot play left back. You know, and we knew it would have weakened our midfield because he's been our most consistent midfield player. So I think sometimes what's staring you in the face sometimes isn't so obvious. And I think and he's done well. Don't get me wrong. I think he had to do it. It just smacked him like between the eyes. You cannot play him left back. It's not something he's learned. He should have known, and he should have not done it in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, like you said last season, Granit Xhaka played there, didn't he? I suppose he had to in many ways last season because we didn't have cover for the left back when Tini was injured, and we didn't have a lot of choice. This season, we have had a choice, and obviously Arteta made that decision in that one game, but luckily he did see that it didn't work and put Xhaka back in his natural position. And one of the biggest criticisms it seems to be, Dorsey, from Xhaka, he gets a lot of is, well, it's no coincidence that since we signed Xhaka, we've never been in the Champions League, as though it's his fault for the last 5 years. But now we've got a great opportunity to qualify for the Champions League, and he's going to have been a big part of that because he's had a great season, hasn't he? And I think that'll be a good way to, all the critics that he's had, it'd be a good way to kind of show them that actually he's not as bad as everyone thinks he is. He's not as bad a player, and in fact, he's as Melvin said, he's so important to the team right at this moment, isn't he?
Yeah. Hear me out with this, right? Patrick Vieira, right? One of the greatest players to have ever worn our shirt, and I would never ever hear anything said differently. But did that guy not make some stupid mistakes? Did he not get stupid red cards, going through people, spitting at players, grabbing people by the throat? All the things that Granit Xhaka gets lambasted for nowadays. And it's listen, I'm not putting Granit Xhaka in the same bracket as Patrick Vieira. That would just be absolutely stupid because they're worlds apart in terms of ability and leadership and the way they control games. But what I'm saying is a lot of the stick that Granit Xhaka gets is not necessarily because of how good he is at football. It's because of the red cards. It's because of the other things that he does outside of what he does on a football pitch. And it frustrates me because I think me and you, Rich, are probably on the same page when it comes to Granit Xhaka. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to see that we miss him when he's not there. And that, I'm not his biggest fan by any, and I completely agree with Melvin. He's probably not what I want to see in our centre midfield in a couple of years' time if we want to take that next step. But it's probably the modern day football. Social media makes things a million times worse than what it is. But as a football fan that grew up predominantly watching football in the 90s, I love those fights. I wanted players on the pitch that are willing to go in for 50-50 tackles. You win some, you lose some, but that was football. That was, I mean, who wouldn't want to go back to Vieira and Keane now? Everybody would bite your hand off to go back and watch games like that. And yes, Granit Xhaka gets it wrong, but do you not want players that are going to try and win the ball? Listen, sometimes he's not going to win it. It is what it is, and that's football. But I think a lot of the stick he gets is very unfair because I think they look through it's very tunnel vision. They see what they want to see, and one person says he's useless, then that one person turns into 10 turns into 100, and before you know it, you got 1,000 people saying the same thing. And it's scary, really, how much we miss him when he's not there. I think he's developed a really, really strong partnership with Thomas Partey. I think that was really becoming, that was crucial for us, them two in midfield, and no coincidence as to why we were playing so well. So yeah, listen, he is what he is. He's already admitted in that interview that he ain't going to change, and I wouldn't expect him to. But what I will say is there's a reason every single manager that he's ever played under plays him. If he's fit and he's available, he's in the team. And there's a reason for that beyond people that aren't qualified as a football coach. I know there must be a reason as to why everybody picks him. There's a reason Mourinho wanted them at Roma in the summer. There's a reason he's captain for his country. There was a reason he was captain for Mönchengladbach, and there was a reason he was given the armband at Arsenal initially. So who are we to know? But he is what he is. Love him or hate him, I think he's a player that we need at the minute. And I agree with you, Rich. I think last season and this season, I think he's been pivotal to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think sometimes I think sometimes he's unfairly criticised because, and you know, you made the point about Patrick Vieira, and that's a good point in the fact that a lot of Arsenal fans, we're used to seeing players like Patrick Vieira in our midfield, and players of that calibre. You know, even before that, we've had some great midfield players, haven't we? You know, over the years, and you know, clearly Granit Xhaka isn't on that level. But ultimately, the team around him aren't on that level that the team that Patrick Vieira played in. So what do people expect? You know, it's almost like they're expecting Granit Xhaka to be Patrick Vieira when he's not playing with Thierry Henry, and he's not playing with Robert Pires, and he's not playing with all those other great players, is he? And if he was, maybe we'd see another side to Granit Xhaka. Possibly, we won't know because that's never going to happen. But I think sometimes he's looked on due to some great players that have played in his position at the club previously. I mean, personally for me, and I've felt this for pretty much since he came to the club. Actually, he's one of my favourite players. He's been one of my favourite players at Arsenal because I just his attitude. I love his attitude on the pitch. He clearly loves playing for Arsenal. He's had a lot of stick and he's still there. He could have left about 3 times, and why is he still here? He's still here because he loves playing for Arsenal. And I think he's Mr. Consistency. Very rarely has a lot of poor games. He might have one stupid game here and there when he does something silly and gets sent off. But even that's quite rare. I think he's only been sent off 4 times. Is it 4 or 5 times in what, 6 years he's been at the club? That's not that bad for someone in midfield who is a ball winner or tries to be a ball winner in there, tries to tackle, he'll tackle and stuff like that. I actually like him. I really do I think he's a great guy as well. He seems to be, you know, he loves his family and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I just think he's everything that I would want an Arsenal player to be. You don't have to be a fantastically brilliant football player necessarily. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. But he is what if I played for Arsenal, I would like to be a player like Granit Xhaka because, you know, I wouldn't necessarily be the most skillful player, but I'd give everything when I was out there playing for the team. And I think he does that. And I'll always feel like that about him, you know, because I don't expect him to be Patrick Vieira. I don't expect him to be anybody else. I just see what he's done and look at the team around him, and he's consistent every week. He puts in 6, 7, 8 out of 10 performances every single week. Very rarely does he
protest, Rich, to get you cancelled after all of this.
But I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I see things that no one else does. I don't know. But I've always liked him, you know, and you know, he's capable of some great moments as well. We've seen the last week he's had 2 great games, actually 2 of his best games back to back, probably that he's ever had for Arsenal, in actual fact. And that goal, as we said, against Man United was incredible. I mean, Steve, what are your thoughts on Granit Xhaka overall? Because I know we've spoken about him on the show a few times because he tends to crop up for one reason or another, usually for negative things, generally when he gets himself sent off. But what are your thoughts on him overall? Because I've not really had a chance to speak to you about him personally. So what do you make?
I think there's a couple of things here. So we talk about Granit Xhaka. If we go to the beginning of the season, that stupid 2-footed tackle in the Man City game that got him sent off.
Which he didn't actually connect with him, did he? He didn't actually connect with a player.
It's Granit Xhaka though, mate. Like, you know, and it's those moments. I believe, so my belief is when they went away to that Dubai camp for a couple of weeks, okay, and I get what everybody's saying, Mr. Consistency all the way through. When they went away, I think, and this is what Arteta's very good at, is I think he did a lot of one-to-one with him. I think he spent a hell of a lot of time, has stuck with him, gone through him, and actually worked it. And we are now reaping the benefits of that. I think for what we need right now, we need him in there. Any team needs that the more senior players, some seniority within it to actually be able to take that creativity and energy that the young have and drive it forward and lead by example. That's what we're seeing right now, and I think that comes from the focus that. When's the last time you see him have one of these like mad moments? We've all seen them. We've all been there, going back through the years, and as been noted, he's a Wenger signing. We've all seen them. That this season it's kind of fallen away. Right, we had at the beginning we had the initial rush. He was going to Roma's, all that kind of thing, and then he stayed. And I think you're absolutely right; he loves it. I generally believe that Arteta's been doing a lot of one-to-one with him, and the new role that he's got, and the freedom that he's got to express himself. Right within that midfield, and as you say, Thomas Partey by his side. I mean, and El Nene's kind of taken over from there, and respect him for that. It's interesting. Did you see the article, by the way, that Mohamed El Nene turned around and said, "Look, I don't care what the contract is. I want to stay here." So you can see there's that love from there. So I think for me, I wasn't a love. I was there when he threw his told us to F off and threw his bit off. It works out that there was a lot more going on behind it. What's his name? Old Slabhead up at Man United's had a bomb threat. Someone's going to put a bomb in his house and kill him. For God's sake, and I didn't realise that that us as fans were actually, going on about his family, his kids, what they're going to do to him, that type of stuff, and all the abuse that he got. So I would tell everybody to fuck off. To be honest with you, if you did that to me and my family, I'd have shown you my arse on the way out as well. So my view on it is that guy's had to transform himself. I genuinely, as you say, believe what everybody's saying is. I believe he genuinely loves the club and actually has fun there. And that goal, my God, that's at my end where I was sitting up there watching. It was a thunderbolt. It was like I have never seen anything like it. I was hugging a grown man. I have no idea who he was. And I apologize if he's listening. I'm really, really sorry for squeezing you that hard. It was, and I think he deserved it. I think it was right. I think for him, it does not good. So I think we need him. I think, again, 2 to 3 years in that young team, we're going to find who's his successor's going to be, and he is going to be part and parcel of the transformation of this business. And I just think he's just a great player. And when he has his moments of brilliance, I say that double nutmeg is going to live in my memory for the rest of my life against Chelsea. To go in and score the goal, and I love it. And I hope that he could. We don't have any injuries with him because we desperately need him in that midfield coming up to in the last few games. We desperately need to have him there.
I mean, he doesn't tend to get that many injuries. I know he had one earlier in the season against Tottenham, didn't he? He missed a few games after that, but he doesn't tend to get a lot of injuries, does he? Like certain other players in our squad who seem to be permanently injured. He doesn't seem to get injured much, which is strange because he plays in a position in midfield. He won't pull out of tackles. He gets stuck in, and he doesn't seem to get that many injuries, does he? Whereas other players seem to get injured every 2 games without sort of. As that they're not that type of player as Granit Xhaka is, I find it a little bit strange. Neil says there, always said we need to balance the raw talent and skill to yield. Yeah, we do, and I think the balance as well comes from experience as well. I think a player like Granit Xhaka who's got experience, he's at a good age as well. We need 2 or 3 more players like that in the squad to help the young players, and if we're going to move forward, I think. But whether we'll do that or not, we've got Sam in the chat as well. How you doing, Sam? He says, "Hi, Rich. Shocks me how the older Arsenal fans are lapping up this Arteta crap. They're lowering the standards." I mean, we did speak about this a couple of weeks ago, obviously, when we were losing games, and I suppose it was more relevant, particularly at that particular time. But not that it's not relevant now. Yeah, I mean, I do find it a little bit strange that but it's where we are. I mean, personally, I don't think just scraping into the top 4, if that's what we do, is overall a great thing for Arsenal. We should be better than that. We should be looking at being better than that. But we've got to start somewhere. We're out of Europe completely this season. We've been out of the Champions League for 6 years now. So to be back in it again, it's got to be celebrated because that's where we need to be. It's what we do now going forward. If next season we don't compete at all for anything because we don't compete in the Champions League, we get knocked out early on, we're not really doing that well in the league because of the extra games, whatever it is, then we need to look at it and say, actually, this isn't just getting in the top 4 once isn't good enough. We need to be building on this and going forward. And that's when I think we'll be able to look at it a little bit more. But, you know, at the end of the day, if we make the top 4 this season, that is going to end up being a good season for us, because that's not what we would have anticipated at the start. And it's what we need as a club if we're going to go forward and we're going to be able to progress. Because if we're not in it this season, what happens then? You know, other teams are going to spend money. We will be able to get the players that we need and this, that, and the other. So it's a massive thing for the club this year to get in the top 4. And I think that's where we all want to be. But it's how we cope with that next season, what that leads to. That's the key. You know, it shouldn't just be a one-off. And next season, if we finish 6th next season, we're out of Europe again. Oh, well, never mind. That's when we're not going to take the crap, if you see what I mean. Then we need to say, right, this is what's not working, because we're Arsenal. And personally, I want us to be doing more than what we've been doing for the last few years. But if we're going to get back on the horse, if you like, we've got to start somewhere. And for me, that is going to have to be this season, getting in the top 4. And if we do that, that's brilliant. But let's build on it in the summer and next season and beyond, because that's where we want to be ultimately again. But we'll see how it works out. And let's hope that.
Just a quick one, just quickly.
Yeah.
Comments like that really boil my piss, because it's comments like that make me think that people think it's Arteta's fault, the reason why we are where we are. Right?
Yeah.
I understand that the progression is not as quick as everybody wants it to be, right? I get it. There's frustration because whichever way you look at it, the progression is slow. Yeah. But it's progression, right? Before he came in, and the last 10 years of Wenger, Emery, we were on a downward slope. It was only going one way. And if any of those managers had stayed, it would have just continued to have got worse. However, now we've got a young manager who is, yes, learning on the job. Yes, he's making mistakes. Yes, some of them he's not learning from. I get all of that. I get the frustration sometimes. But finally, we've got a group of players that want to fight for the shirt, that want to play for the club, and you've got a manager that's trying to reinstill a culture, a stronger mentality at the club, which we've lacked for years. How many years have people said, oh, it's all right, it's Arsenal, they've got a soft underbelly, they're not strong anymore? It's been like that since Vieira left. And all of those players, since the Invincibles broke up, it's been like that, and we've been soft. Right, but now, again, I know it's slow, but we're heading back in the right direction. Whether or not Arteta is the man that's going to continue to take us that way, it might need someone else to come in and finish off the job. But for the first time since we moved to the Emirates, we're going in the right direction. Right? Other clubs are doing it quicker than us, and yes, that can be frustrating. But comments like that, I just think, why? What's the point? What are you going to benefit from saying something like that? It's not Arteta's fault, the job that he's taken on. But for me, he's doing things the right way. He's starting from the bottom. He's building a strong foundation with a group of young players and getting the right culture and mentality back into the club. Whether he's good enough to take it all the way, time will tell. But for me, he's doing the right things right now. And it's comments like that really boil my piss. They really do.
No, that's fine. It's good to make that point. That's a fair point, and I kind of sort of agree with it to a certain degree. I do look on Arteta a little bit. He does remind. I've said this before. He does remind me a little bit. To me, is the modern day Don Howe. He's a coach who's become a manager when maybe he's not really a manager. He's just a good coach. And Don Howe brought a lot of great young players through, didn't he? The Tony Adams era, Martin Keown, all those, Rocastle. He brought all them into the team, but would he have been the right manager at that time to have taken the club to the next level? Probably not. We got George in. George was able to do that. And I can see something similar. What you just mentioned there, Dawes, I actually think that's probably what's going to happen. I think Arteta has done a really good job with these young players, and he has changed the culture of the club, which I think maybe Don Howe did a little bit as well with the young players that he brought in. And it took maybe someone with a little bit more experience to put all that together and take it to that next level, which is what George Graham did. And maybe that's what's going to happen with us. Maybe Arteta's got another year or two at the club, and then someone else is going to come in that little bit more experience to take us forward from the point there. And, maybe it's like a transitional period in a way, and it's needed to happen. A lot of the players are out of the club now that are on big wages, wasn't really performing. We've got a core of young players coming through, which Arteta's done. But, yeah, I personally feel we're only going to be able to go so far with this whole thing, and it's going to take somebody else to come in and take it forward as it did before in the past.
Just out of interest, Rich, what more do you want to see from Arteta to convince you that he's a long-term answer? What is he not doing that you want to see? And I'm just curious. I'm not.
No. I mean, it's not so much It's more to do with, I think there's two factors for me. First of all, is his lack of experience as a manager. And very rarely does a manager come in who's just been a number two, a coach, and perform great things and achieve great things. Very rarely, especially in the modern game, very rarely does it happen. And that's my concern with him. And secondly, he's making the same mistakes continuously. He's far too, I think he's far too hands-on. I mean, we saw on Saturday a lot of clips of him, one with the VAR decision. He's so involved, far too involved. When there was a break in play, he had all the players around him. It's like, back off. Let them express themselves. Let them play. You're working with them every day in training. If they don't know what they're doing on a Saturday afternoon when they go out over that white line, then you're not doing your job properly through the week. If you need to constantly be running up and down the touchline, shouting here and there, you come here, you go there, they should know that already because you've told them all week. You've been telling them for the last 2 years, most of them. Do you know what I mean?
Guardiola does exactly the same thing.
He sits a lot on his chair with like this, doesn't he? A lot of the time, Guardiola, because he knows
when he's not doing that, he's doing exactly the same thing.
When they're losing, he's more animated, Guardiola. But most of the time, they're not losing, are they? So he's quite relaxed and he's cool. But even when we're winning games, and even when we're playing quite well, he's still up there directing the traffic like a traffic warden. And I just think I don't know. I think certain players respond to that well, and certain players have responded to that well. I think other players maybe haven't. But I don't see anything in him. And someone, I heard this point the other day on a different podcast. Someone said, do you think Arteta is going to be the manager to take us to the Premier League title at some point in the future? If you do, fair enough. Back him. Go with it. But if you don't think he is, why stick with it now? And I kind of agree with that. I don't think he can win the Premier League with Arsenal. I don't think he can win the Premier League anywhere. Maybe with Man City, if he inherited Pep's money and Pep's team, he may be able to continue the success for a year or two. But at Arsenal, with what needs to be done, I don't think, nothing strikes me, nothing stands out to me to say, yes, I can see we can win titles. We're improving, and I think he has improved us, and I think he will improve us to a certain point. I'm not convinced that he's going to be able to take us that next step further. You know, can he challenge the likes of Klopp? Can he challenge the likes of Pep? You know, you've got even Tuchel. I know he's beaten Tuchel a few times, but he's a top quality manager who's won big trophies. Conte as well. You know, can he compete with those sort of managers? I don't think he can. I don't think he's at this moment in time. He lacks the experience, and I think he lacks the flexibility as well to be able to do it. Personally, that's what I've seen from him so far. And I mean, he's learning on the job in a way, I suppose. It's his first managerial job, and maybe we need to expect that it isn't going to just suddenly happen straight away. But he's been there, 2.5 years now, and I would have expected by now for me to feel, yes, he's definitely the right man to take us forward. And maybe that's because in the past, George Graham hit the ground running with Arsenal pretty much. Arsene Wenger, we know what he did at the beginning. So we didn't have this period, did we, before? Emery didn't get a chance, did he? Let's be honest. He came in at a difficult time and he was hounded out very quickly. And Arteta has been given more time than perhaps he should have been, looking at last season's results. And maybe that's still partly sticking in my head a little bit. He got us to 15th in the Premier League, you know, and that concerns me. You know, we've lost 11 games this season. We lost 13 last season. That's a lot of defeats in 2 seasons. There's too many things that don't suggest to me that he is going to be able to take us to that next level. He may well get us in the top 4 this season. It's looking very, very good now. But can he take that next? I'm not sure if he's the right man for that personally, just from what I've seen in the last 2.5 years. And I hope I'm wrong. And if he stays, I hope I'm wrong for definite, because I want us to get to that level. Nothing's convinced me with him that he can do that. I think he can take us so far, and then I think we're not going to be able to get to that next level. And that's what I want to see us. I want to see us get to that next level, to challenge Klopp and to challenge Pep and to challenge all those other top teams, Chelsea, to actually challenge the teams in the Champions League as well. And I know he hasn't he hasn't managed in the Champions League for us yet, so we don't know how he'll do. Maybe tactically that might be brilliant. That might be his competition. We might win it next season. Who knows? But for me, at this moment in time, I don't see it. And I know a lot of people have 100% faith in Arteta. I think he's the best manager we've ever had. But I don't see it at the moment. But I'm not saying we should sack him or anything like that, because we shouldn't. We're in the top 4. That's where we want to be. But next season is going to be massive for me and my relationship with Arteta, maybe. Because if we do well next season in the Champions League, we've got a little special guest on there.
That's Arsenal Cat, mate. That's the one I tweet out. That's Arsenal Cat. I'll tweet out, and my apologies for that.
He's more than welcome. We like, Adam gets his cat on sometimes as well, so we like a good cat on the show. That's fine. But yeah, I'm just not convinced at this moment by him. He hasn't done anything really to convince me that he's a top level manager. He's a good coach, very good coach. But is he a top manager? Question marks are still there for me. And that's...
I don't think any manager will win the Premier League with Arsenal unless we find an owner that's going to throw hundreds of millions at it.
You say that, but would Leicester have thought they could win the Premier League?
Mate, that's a one-off.
Why can't we be a one-off? Why can't we be a one-off? Just once.
Hang on.
What, so we just want to win it once and then go back to mid-table?
No, but we're Arsenal. We're not Leicester, are we? We've got more about us as a club.
What I'm saying is Chelsea and Man City have changed the dynamic of football in this country,
and Newcastle now as well.
And Newcastle, and until Arsenal take that model, or we find an owner that's willing to do the same thing, it's going to be very, very difficult for any manager to come in and challenge those guys. What we're looking at, right, is we've got a team full of young players that are going in a cycle, and we're hoping that we're lucky that we can strike when City and Liverpool and Chelsea go through their next transition and their next cycle, and they have to rebuild. Right, that if we win the league, that's going to be when it is, and it will be a one-off because Chelsea will then throw another 200, 300, 400 million at it. So will City.
Yeah, but wouldn't
the cycle will go again? But we won't do that.
No, but we're not a poor club, are we? Our owners are rich.
We're not.
The club's worth a lot of money, right? And if we were to, maybe you're right, maybe it will take a season when the others are in transition and we can take advantage of that and win the league. I don't think it wouldn't necessarily be a one-off for the simple fact that we're Arsenal. We would then be able to attract some really good players. I think the owners would then throw more money at it because we've just won the Premier League, and I think we've got the history, and we're a club that could sustain that for more than once. I'm not saying we win the league necessarily more than once, but to keep challenging again and to build on that one success. Leicester wasn't really able to do that because they didn't have as much money, they haven't had the history, they didn't have the tradition, anything like that, and that they couldn't really have done that. It was always going to be a one-off with a club like Leicester winning the Premier League. With Arsenal, it will never feel like a one-off because we're Arsenal. We've won it 13 times. I know we haven't won it for a long time, but you could look at the 71. We won the double in 71. That was a kind of a one-off because we hadn't won it for 18 years. We didn't win it for 18 years afterwards. But around that time, we had 2 or 3 really good seasons where we were challenging. And that's what I kind of mean. That's what I want to see us doing. Being able to, yes, if we won the league as a one-off, that would be great. If we continue to challenge around it, if coming second a few times, winning the cups here and there, competing in the Champions League, even if that lasted 3 or we should be able to sustain pretty decent success for 3 or 4 years. Because we're Arsenal and we've got that infrastructure there in the club, haven't we, to do that? Unlike a Leicester who had no chance of doing that, really, although they've won quite a few trophies since as well, cups and stuff, haven't they? But I don't know. I think we're a different club to stuff like that. We shouldn't be.
We are. Yeah, the draw is there, the attraction is there, the players want to play for us. I get that. Historically, we're one of the 3 biggest. Well, we are involved in the 3 biggest teams in this country, but
yeah.
I just think football's changed. It's different now to what it was in any other, and it's Chelsea and City that have completely changed the dynamic, and it's going to be.
How have Liverpool done it? How have Liverpool done it?
Well, they've thrown a load of money at it as well, but they've been clever with money because they've been able to sell players. You look at the Coutinho deal, right? That Coutinho deal was the one deal that transformed that club. Getting rid of him for 140 million and then buying Alisson and Van Dijk. I mean, that's completely changed that.
No, it did. But also as well, the point I was making was, look at the manager that they got. A manager who had vast experience, a fantastic manager, and he was able to come in and take them where they needed to go. And that's what I think that's what the difference is.
Do you think Klopp would have done the same with us then if he'd have come in instead of?
Well, we'll never know. I think if we got Klopp when Liverpool got Klopp, if we'd got him instead, I think we'd have had a lot better last 4 or 5 years than we've had. Whether we'd have been as good as Liverpool and done as well as Liverpool, we won't know. But I definitely feel we would have done a lot better. I think we'd have been playing in the Champions League regularly. I think we'd have been challenging in cup competitions, and we may well have won a Premier League. But I mean, he's only won 1. Let's not forget, he's not won 4 or 5 like Pep has. But I think we'd have done a lot better, definitely, if we'd got Klopp when he was available. The same if we'd got Tuchel in just before we got Arteta. I think we'd be a lot stronger position now, because you're saying about it's taken a long time. It's taken a long time because Arteta isn't that experienced, and maybe we're not spending as much money. But someone like Tuchel didn't spend hardly anything and won the Champions League in 6 months.
He didn't need to. Look at that. Look at the squad he had. He didn't need to.
Look where they were 15th in the league when he took over. I think, weren't they? 14th.
It doesn't matter. That squad was better than what that league position is. Yes, he's come in and he's done a good job and he won the Champions League. But that squad is not the same squad that Arteta's come into, is it? Let's face it. It's not. You know, it's complete.
But it was a squad that had reached the European final the year before, had not been far off the top four. The season before, in Emery's season, we only finished 1 point behind Chelsea.
No.
And then
we weren't a good squad, though, Richard. Forget about
it. We weren't. That Chelsea squad was underachieving massively.
How did we get to a European final and finish 1 point off the top four then if we didn't have a very good squad? Who managed to achieve that? Would it maybe have been the good manager that we had perhaps at the time who knew what he was doing?
I think maybe we should move on from Arteta and go on to the next topic.
But do you know what I mean? That's just that's just the way I see things.
Rich, as we discussed before, the other part of it is you've got to look at the owners right now.
I agree 100%. I 100% agree.
And the business plan has always been on mediocrity, because to get to that level, I think as we were saying earlier, is to get to that level that, like, look at PSG, look at Real Madrid, look at Barcelona, look at Chelsea, look at those guys are spending hundreds upon hundreds of millions, like huge amounts of money to invest into the team to get to that top piece. So if you look at what we're doing, and again, you can look at the Glaziers, and an epic failure right there from Man United perspective, as we saw as we battered them the other day. If you look at the way that their business model is done, the way the Kroenkes actually run it, they're looking for mediocrity. They're happy for us to get into the Champions League. They want us to get into the Champions League because that's good money coming in. That means that they can draw money out, that they can start. We made 100 million loss, last season. Let's not forget that as well. So if we can get into that Champions League and be there, and that's what Wenger did. It was like a machine for him. And we get out the group stages, potentially to quarterfinals, whatever that happens to be. We were never, ever going to get to the finals. We were never going to be given the money to do it. So the owners themselves obviously have a financial piece because they don't really want to put money into it. They just want to saddle it with debt. And if they could do that by actually getting, say, quarterfinals out whatever that happens to be, that's the business model they have. That mediocrity, that financial fair play. Let's kind of hit net zero, at the end of the year, turn a bit of a profit, and then we'll take that out in management fees. That's what these guys want to do. So to actually get to the Man City levels, we need, oligarch kind of money, or I shouldn't really say that, sort of petrochemical money from or whatever it happens to be, wherever our funding is, in this limitless amount. You look at the funding Chelsea actually have, that Abramovich actually put into it. So the whole part of it is actually from the management perspective. Going back to Arteta, look, ultimately, he's going to move on. You know what job he's going to get is he's cutting his teeth here. And when Pep moves on, he's going to take over. He's going to go back and take that team over. And that's where he'll be. Rich, I'll lay steak dinner on it. I'll lay you a steak dinner on it.
I would be surprised. I'll tell you one thing, right? And a lot of people say that's a likely progression for Arteta, and I'm not convinced it will be. The way things are heading at the minute, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Patrick Vieira, who also works under Pep at Man City, that ends up going and replacing him.
No, he's going to take Arteta's place.
Well, he might take Arteta's place, but he might not be at Arsenal.
Melvin said that. Melvin said that in the last podcast that I was on. He turned around and said that, that's where Vieira will come back to Arsenal.
No, I'm sure he will at some point. I'm sure Patrick Vieira will manage Arsenal. I think everybody knows he's going to manage Arsenal at some point. But I wouldn't be surprised if when Pep leaves, which is going to probably be in the next couple of years now, it's looking that way, isn't it? Are Man City going to take on a manager, even though they know Pep, they know Mikel Arteta, that maybe hasn't achieved very much since he left? Are they going to take him and stick him back in his manager? I'm not sure if they will. If Patrick Vieira keeps progressing Crystal Palace in the way that he's doing over the next 2 or 3 years, he's going to be a much more likely candidate, as he's an ex-Man City player. He's worked there under Pep as well. So,
Rich, come on, mate. Let's be a little bit more positive. Look, we're going to win the Champo next year. We're going to win it.
I did say we might win the Champions League next season.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And
I might just add that Crystal Palace, albeit they have improved, they're still 14th in the league. Of course they are. But what do you expect Crystal Palace to do? Usually they're fighting relegation until the last couple of games of the season, aren't they? So this season they've been mid-table most of the season. They're improving. Yes, he's not going to win the Premier League at Crystal Palace. Let's be honest. He's not going to win trophies at Crystal Palace, but that's because that's Crystal Palace. And
I don't know. Let's see what happens anyway.
Let's
with that.
move
I mean,
on. Let's move on.
I do think
Yeah, yeah.
Patrick Vieira will be manager of Arsenal at some point in his career, at some stage. When that is, I don't.
Let's get top four. Let's just start at top four and then go on from there. That's what I say.
First. I'll tell you what we'll do actually. Why don't we? This was Melvin's idea actually, and I think it was a great idea. You know, I was struggling for a little bit of archive stuff to do this with, but Melvin came up with an absolutely gem of an idea, which I'm really looking forward to doing actually. I've sort of called it unsung heroes, but I guess it's kind of like players that have, you know, done amazing things for Arsenal unexpectedly. Players we wouldn't have expected it to happen for. There's been loads and loads and loads over the years, literally hundreds of them. I've got a list of a few which I wanted to mention. I'm sure Melvin's probably got a massive list. It was his idea, so I'm quite looking forward to Melvin's list actually, because I think this will be really good. So go on then, Melvin. I say this was your idea to do sort of unlikely Arsenal heroes. So who are your top unlikely Arsenal hero? Because I'm sure there's going to be some good names that you've got.
A shock one. There's a load of shock ones. Paul Vasson, do you remember him?
Oh yes, of course.
Semi-final.
Yeah, semi-final. Yeah.
Juventus. We were underdogs. The first leg we drew. I think it was 0-0.
1-1. It was 1-1 at Highbury.
Oh, that's right. We would have been 0-0. We would have been out. That's it. 0-0. We would have been out. Second leg, and he scored a header at the far post from Rixie cross right near the end. Last minute as well. Last minute, yeah. I mean, he was a hero then, wasn't he? I mean, he never actually. I mean, he died very young, sadly.
Yeah, he did.
But he didn't have a career at Arsenal at all after that.
He had a lot of injuries, didn't he, Melvin? And I think that didn't help him, did it? He got a lot of injury problems, and he never really got a regular run in the team, did he? I remember there was one game in Europe actually a few years later where he basically got booed off the whole game by the crowd, and he got taken off, and that was horrible to see actually, because he was still only pretty young then. He was probably only about 22 or 23 at that point. And that was, that was a highlight of his career, wasn't it? That Juventus game.
Not a bad highlight.
It's not a bad highlight at all. No.
Another one that went on to great things. At the time, we didn't know what we were getting because never heard of him. Was when Ray Kennedy came on in the semi-final again of the cup of the UEFA. Was it called the Fairs Cup then? 3-0 down and got an away goal with 5 minutes to go. I think it was. This only touch of the game, like he came on 5 minutes or 10 minutes ago and scored straight away.
That was a big goal, really big goal.
The one you showed, obviously, Ian Allison against Spurs, that was terrific.
It was, yeah.
I mean,
I used to quite like Ian Allison, actually. I know he wasn't a great player, but I don't know. I kind of like them sort of players who come from like lower league clubs, play for the Arsenal, and they can see. You see how much it means to them to be in that position and how much they grab the opportunity. They're never going to be a great player, but that was a great moment for him, wasn't it? Because he'd never really done much for Arsenal, and then he popped up with that great goal in the semi-final, equalising.
I like a half a legend for that, wasn't he? Just that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
someone who played for us quite a bit over a period of time, but never really was a regular. Was Alex Meninga. How did he do?
Actually, yes. That season, 98, he was brilliant.
No one expected that, did they? Come on.
No, that's a good point.
There was a penalty shootout one there. Is it West Ham in the cup?
Yeah.
That's it. Right. That's it. Yeah. I'll tell you who did play very well for us, who I never rated as a player to start with, but I appreciate a bit like Jacker actually later on. And he played for us at left back, completely the wrong side of the pitch for him and the wrong position for him. Flamini.
I know you're going to say.
He was outstanding in the Europe as well. He got us to the final, helped us to the final, and they never picked him. They put
because Ashley Cole was fit, wasn't he? So he played, didn't he?
So I thought was it.
Didn't he? I can't remember where he ended up, and he absolutely leathered some Tottenham player and then waved. I can't remember it was where he played, where he ended up. It was his last.
Was it Fulham? Was it Fulham?
No. This was abroad. And they were playing someone. They were playing Tottenham in the Europa Cup, another cup they never won, and they couldn't help it. I just remember it was like a 2-footed, really nasty tackle into someone. I think it was into Bale, battered him, left him in a pile, and then basically waved to the Arsenal fans, as a reminder of how much he hated Tottenham.
Do you remember that goal he scored against Tottenham in the League Cup for us? That
volley. Two.
The volley though. The volley was just incredible, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, terrific. Yeah.
What a goal that was. That was unbelievable.
Came down slow on that did.
Yeah.
Also, if you're talking about one-off games where someone's been man of the match and made it for us, I think, where did that come from? Though he was a very good player, and he wasn't like up there with the other players. He was not really thought about. But one of our biggest games ever against Liverpool away was Kevin Richardson.
Yeah, I'll put
Outstanding.
him on my list. Yeah,
It
he
was
was. He was an unsung hero, definitely, because he didn't always get a lot of credit. And you think
Not
about it,
at
he
all.
wouldn't even have played in that game at Anfield if Paul Davis hadn't got that ban earlier in the season.
That's
because
right.
he got into the team, didn't he? And he played so well, he just kept his place. But I don't think he would have played at Anfield had Paul Davis hadn't gone through that. Probably, I think Davis would have played instead. And he was man of the match in that game for me, Kevin Richardson.
And me. Also, for scoring very important goals, people that don't normally score goals, Andy Linnigan in the cup final.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Also in the cup final as well, not because he scored a goal, because he was unbelievably unfit because he hadn't played all Spurs Mertesacker. That for me, one of the greatest performances I've seen. Absolute class.
But it's a Mertesacker final. That's what it's known as, isn't it? Now it's known as a Mertesacker final. So
and also a player that played for us very recently, and we couldn't believe how good he was. It was like, what is he? How can he be this good? He's been with us for years. He's Martinez.
Yeah, I've got mine down on my list as well. Yeah. Well, he won us a cup, didn't he, in 2020? Some of those performances in the FA Cup that season when he came in, he was brilliant, wasn't he?
That's some on my list anyway. So let someone else get a chance now.
No, there was some great ones there, actually. Some I've sort of forgotten about, actually. Paul Vasson's a great shout, actually. Paul Vasson, what an absolute legend he was just for that one goal, really.
Yeah.
Go on, Dorsey. Who's your kind of unsung heroes or unlikely heroes? You know, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be someone who scored an important goal, just a player that maybe hasn't ever given the credit they got deserved, maybe.
Yeah. Well, a couple Melvin mentioned, the two I picked were Flamini because of what he did in 2006 in that European campaign. It was such a shot. Listen, in hindsight, you got to play Ashley Cole, didn't you? Really, it's a shame. You wouldn't want to have Flamini at left back if you given the choice. But what he did leading up to that, and not conceding a goal against Juventus, Real Madrid, Villarreal, it's just still phenomenal that run to the final was just ridiculous. He was a big part of it. So, and I really liked him. He was another one that
he was loved
to tackle, and he was. I enjoyed him.
He's like the mid 2000s Granit Xhaka, isn't he? Because he played left back from midfield as well, and he scored a few banging goals as well, didn't he? So he's kind of like a similar kind of player.
Yeah, definitely. Mertesacker again. I mean, that was just a ridiculous performance in that FA Cup final. I don't think everybody just kind of gave up on the final as soon as that lineup came out, and just the performance he put in was just was phenomenal. But I think in terms of other ones I mentioned, so I think Nwankwo Kanu, I think he was incredibly underrated.
He was.
I don't think he gets some of the credit that he deserves. I mean, the hat trick obviously at Stamford Bridge is obviously a standout. But he was class. He was a really, really good player, and I loved watching him. Big, tall, lanky.
He could drop a shoulder, couldn't he?
He could drop a shoulder, yeah. But he epitomised the player that doesn't look like he should be able to play football. Yeah. But he was just ridiculously good at it.
Didn't he have some sort of heart condition as well? Didn't he?
Yes. Didn't he have a valve? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What else? Who else have got? I think Will Tord is another one. I think Will Tord always. It was a bit frustrating, Will Tord, because he always seemed to start the season very well. He'd get 8 or 9 goals in the first 10, 12 games, and then he kind of got away. But nonetheless, I mean, he scored some big goals. Obviously, the one that stands out is the one at Old Trafford away. But I think he maybe doesn't get the credit he deserves. Who else have I got down? And the only other two I put in were just 2 players which were incredible players for the club, but again, I don't think are as appreciated as maybe they should be. But Gilberto is one of them. I still don't think he gets the credit he deserves. I think that guy was integral to that team. He was just he was superb. Yeah. And for me, one of my favourite players, Ray Parlour. I absolutely love that guy. I love the bones of him, and I still love him now, seeing his stuff on social media. He's just a proper lad that got to play football for the greatest club in the world. And obviously, I think the one game that always stood out to me, I know he scored a hat-trick in Europe. I can't remember who it was against.
Werder Bremen.
That's right, yeah. But what hat trick that was, and the performance he put in at the San Siro as captain when we beat Inter Milan
5-1. Yeah.
You know, so I recently got one of my shirts printed actually with his name on the back. So yeah, I love the run for Pele. But yeah, they were some of the ones I mentioned or thought of earlier on. But like I say, you could have an endless list.
Ray Parler's a great shout because he was, you know, internationally as well, he was overlooked, wasn't he? And what a great player he was, you know, 100% every single game he played. And, you know, for what, 6, 7, 8 seasons for us, he was phenomenal, wasn't he? Just absolutely brilliant. And yeah, he probably never had the credit he deserved. Of course, that goal in the cup final as well against Chelsea, and always everyone remembers that goal, won't they? Yeah, only Ray Parler, and he goes and bangs that one in. That was fantastic. But no, that hat trick was good. He got a hat trick in the Premier League as well. I think it was against
is it Newcastle? No,
I don't think it was Newcastle. He did get a hat trick against someone, didn't he, in the Premier League as well? I can't remember who it was against now. I'm not sure. Anyway, he got 2 hat tricks for Arsenal, which is unbelievable for a midfield player. He wasn't known for goal scoring, and he pops up with 2 hat tricks. But
I tell you what,
it was Newcastle.
I was it Newcastle? Well, we beat him 5-0. Is that right?
Yeah, 2001. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I couldn't remember if it was Man City maybe or but Newcastle. Yeah, I remember him scoring a hat trick in the Premier League as well. So yeah, he's one of the. He should be one of the top names on the list of unsung heroes for Arsenal. I think Ray Parler, without a shadow of a doubt, absolutely fantastic. There's been quite a few actually in the chat. Actually, we've got. Hang on, where are we? Actually, Neil says Gilberto Silva, Grimondi. Yeah, Grimondi. Yeah, he was quite an interesting one, wasn't he? And he says Alex Meninga. Obviously, as Melvin mentioned, Alex Meninga. Exactly. Yeah, that's a great season that he had. Steve Morrow as well, of course, scored an FA League Cup final winner for Arsenal, unsung hero, perhaps definitely there. And Neil says Edu and Wiltord. Yeah, obviously Wiltord was mentioned. Edu as well. Yeah, he was kind of a bit underrated, wasn't he, as a player? He's quite underrated as a whatever his job is at the minute, chief.
Barbecue specialist, head of barbecue.
Chief barbecue maker. Neil says there, Carney's actually against a goal against Spurs. Yeah, that goal against Spurs was great, wasn't it?
Oh, he flicked over his head.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. That wasn't it? I was at that game. That was incredible. And he was also 15 years old. He probably was actually. Yeah. He seemed to be 18 for quite a long time, didn't he? Actually, before he came to Arsenal. And of course, Neil says don't forget Elneny. I mean, I think Elneny was a player that maybe inspired this whole sequence because he's definitely an unsung hero of Arsenal, and he steps up when he's needed to in the last couple of games. Robert there, another one, Christopher Ray, of course, the 98 season, popped up with some big goals, didn't he?
I forgot about him.
He popped up in the semi-final FA Cup as well, winner, and got quite important goals in the league as well that season. So yeah, he's definitely he was an unsung hero that season. I don't know quite where his career went after that because he never really did much for Arsenal, did he, after that season? And then that was it really. But anyway, it was certainly good while it lasted. Steve, what have you got any more names to add to this list? Because it's quite a long list now.
I've got a couple. Antonio Reyes. Yeah, it's got to be one.
Oh, yes.
Opening goal. Remember that opening goal when he introduced himself? It was a thunderbolt out of nowhere.
It was, yeah. That was.
I've got to go and say he's a bit of hero worship. Sol Campbell as well for me. Everything that move.
Was he unsung though? Was he an unsung hero?
I would say. I think to me he was a little bit. He never really got. He was overshadowed by those around him. I think with Thierry Henry, what he did. I met him. Funny enough, I met him before the game, the Man United game. I've never come across a man as huge and enormous as that.
He's a big guy, definitely.
I have to say, I haven't shit my pants quite like that in a long time because I went over and I'll take a picture. He looked at me as if to say, "We'll just knock your head over." I was like a little teen, put my arm around him with a silly picture. But no, I think he was really. I think he was because I think he was just overshadowed by everybody else in the team with Henry and everybody else. But he was so integral and so important to it. Wenger loved him. Wenger absolutely loved him.
Steve, I think he was probably the best centre half, perhaps in Europe at the time.
Yeah. I don't think he was ever given that though. I don't think he was ever given the kudos. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe
he was a regular for England, wasn't he? He was a regular for England. I wouldn't say. I mean, I agree, he's a great player, but I wouldn't say he was underrated or unsung hero. Really, I think he was a legend at Arsenal because of moving from Tottenham and winning the league for us the next season.
There is the other one is Rob Holding. especially what he did to Costa.
Yeah.
Especially what he did to Costa, because like he was just in his face. And I just think he's just he always does exactly what we ask him to do. So on there, and of course, Kanu always loved to score against Man United as well. Always, he always turned up for some reason. Would always bang one in the back of the net against Man U with Kanu, which I always love him for. But again, you know, those are the ones for me. I think Rob Holding and that Costa, like what he did, was just legendary, absolutely legendary on that. But they're the ones I've got. So Reyes for me. You know, being that he's Spanish as well, and
Reyes is a great shout. Reyes.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
that's my addendum to the list.
No, I mean Reyes and certainly Rob Holding as well. I think Rob Holding is very underrated actually, because you know, again, he's not the greatest footballer in the world, is he? But he's a player that comes in and always gives 100%, and that's what makes to me, that's what makes a kind of an unsung hero, isn't it? A player that does that, you know, maybe isn't always the best player, but certainly always gives their best. Neil's here talking about Sol Campbell. I shook his hand at the last game at Highbury, and he's massive. But then Ahmed the Wolf, he is a big. Sol Campbell is a big lad. I've met him as well. He is huge. He's probably even bigger now than he was when he played, because I would have thought he's probably put on a few pounds when stopped playing like most of them do.
I wasn't going to ask. I wasn't going to say.
No, probably best not to. But yeah, he's definitely was a big lad. He's playing.
Richard, that's where I got the idea for the subject. It was Holding and El Neni the last couple of games. That's what gave me the idea.
Yeah, I mean, Holding is a fantastic shout actually, because he's never really ever given any credit, is he? He did have that. He played well in that cup final as well, didn't he? Actually, the Mertesacker final, he played really well in that game as well, didn't he? And he never really gets the credit. And he's come in the last couple of games and been brilliant, hasn't he? And every time he's played this season, I think he's done a really good job, hasn't he? Solid, steady. You know, he heads everything away. He just does what he's got to do, and he goes under the radar a lot. Rob Holding, that's a good shout. And Neil's got a good shout there actually. Giroud, he never got the credit he deserved. Actually, he was a fantastic player. And he had great hair as well, didn't he? Great beard and great hair. I mean, what more could you want, really? I mean, you know, Dorsey's up there as well with his hair and his beard, but you know, Giroud probably just saved it. But he was definitely one. Giroud, actually, he was a very underrated player.
That scorpion kick that he did with Sanchez, I was there. I remember Sanchez put the ball in behind him, and there's nothing he could do because Mkhitaryan did it before. The week before.
Mkhitaryan was offside when he scored his one. He was offside, but he wasn't given as offside. Everyone said, because they were on the same weekend, weren't they, over Christmas? And I think Mkhitaryan had done it the weekend before, and everyone's going, "Oh, that's the greatest goal ever." Well, no, because he was offside, right? He shouldn't have even counted. So Giroud said, "Well, I'm going to do it properly. I'm going to be onside, and I'm going to do it from further out." And he did. It was perfection. That was a fantastic goal. But I mean, Giroud was just all round a great footballer. The fact he's got all those caps for France, he's won the World Cup, he's won the Euros, he's won everything, hasn't he? And very underrated from Arsenal. He's the sort of player that we could do with now, isn't it? To be honest, a centre forward like that who could hold the ball up, good in the air, strong, bring other people into the. He's sort of exactly what Arteta wants Lacazette to do, but Lacazette's not that player, is he? And we could do with Giroud now, actually. I mean,
think if you're basing it on that, you could probably throw Theo Walcott in there as well as a unsung hero. Any player that scores over 100 goals for the club is
one of the, I agree with you there.
Right in my books.
I love Theo Walcott, actually. I thought he was brilliant to watch. You know, yes, he would always, you know, likely to run down a blind alley here and there, but like you said, 100 goals in 400 games, and he never really played as a centre forward very often. He was always playing wide. He was a great player. I did a bit of a list looking on all the trophies that we've won that I've seen us win, and players that were important to those trophies but weren't always given the credit that they deserve. I mean, obviously, a couple of them we mentioned already. Obviously, Ian Allinson for that semi-final goal. Perry Groves as well, who set up the winner in the final that year. I thought he was very underrated all the way through his Arsenal career, actually, because again, he's not the greatest footballer in the world. Came from a lower league club, took his opportunity at a club like Arsenal and took it as with all his worth, and he did a lot of good things. I had Kevin Richardson down obviously for 89. I thought that season he was brilliant, actually. Another one that maybe for me in the 91 season we won the league, David Hillier came in and he was brilliant in the second half of that season, actually. He didn't really do a lot of his Arsenal career after that, but he had maybe 10, 11 games at the end of that season where he was brilliant, actually. So I've wanted to include him on that one. Obviously, Steve Morrow and Andy Linnigan, the 2 cup final goals. Ian Selly as well, who played in the 94 final of the Cup Winners' Cup in midfield because John Jensen was injured, he came in for him, and he done a steady job in that one game, decent job, and he helped us win the cup. So I think he deserved maybe a mention for that particular one. I got Christopher Ray for the 98 season. Of course, we mentioned him already, those important goals that he scored. I've got Ray Parler down as well. He played a big part in quite a few trophies that we won around that sort of time. I've got one who didn't win a trophy necessarily for us, Philip Senderos. That there was 2 seasons in a row where we got to the FA Cup final and the Champions League final. In fact, he played in all them clean sheets, didn't he, that season in the Champions League when we got to the final, Senderos. And, he kind of went under the radar a bit as well, didn't he? Because I thought
when we played at home to Real Madrid and we had to draw at home to get through because we won the away, he was outstanding. That's the best time I've ever seen him play. But Black mark against him, he seemed to, and I know he did it to most centre-halves, Drogba was his nemesis. Yeah, and that's probably what we're against him.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, but he certainly played a big part in those 2 seasons that
definitely,
2 cup finals. And I thought he was underrated as well. I'll put down. I don't want to put. Maybe I don't know whether you consider him to be an unsung hero. I've got Laurent Koscielny because he scored a lot of important goals for Arsenal. Cup final, he scored 2 winning goals that got us into the top 4 as well. 2 seasons running, and he was a decent enough defender. So I don't know whether you necessarily consider him an unsung hero or not. He kind of was a bit for me, maybe because
he was captain, wasn't he? Can a captain be an unsung hero?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did pop up with a lot of important goals, didn't he? Which you're not expecting from a defender necessarily. So I don't know.
I got blinkers on when it comes to Koscielny and Giroud. Can't stand either of them. I won't say a good word about either of them.
But I didn't want Laurent Koscielny actually.
How about Vermaelen then, or Vermaelen?
I mean, Vermaelen was a very good player for a year or so until he started, basically his body fell apart. Up until then, he was good, wasn't he? I mean, it was one season when he was top scorer at Christmas for us, wasn't he? From Leicester centre back,
didn't he? He
scored his debut against Everton. Yeah, he scored about 10 goals that season from centre back, which was incredible, really. And then he started getting injured. I mean, he was a great player actually, Thomas Vermaelen. It's a shame.
Sanya is another one I think was a good player.
Yeah, he was solid, wasn't he? He was solid for a long time, actually, Bakary Sagna. And someone else that maybe has gone under the radar a little bit, had a big part in the 2015 Cup-winning team, Francis Coquelin.
Yes.
Because he was brilliant that season, wasn't he? He'd been on loan somewhere, Charlton, I think it was. He looked like his Arsenal career was finished, and he I don't know if he had injuries or something. He came into the team about January, February time, and he was brilliant for the rest of that season. And we had a great run. We got into the top 4, won the FA Cup, and he was absolutely brilliant that season. And he kind of went under the radar a bit after that. He sort of his career kind of fizzled out, really, didn't it? At Arsenal after that, which one of them kind of players that has an impact, a very big impact at a very short period of time, and then they do nothing else in their Arsenal career, really. But he was one of them for me as well, Francis Coquelin. So. There was certainly a few good ones on that list there. Neil says Limpar. That's an interesting one. Was he an unsung hero, Limpar?
No,
he was brilliant, wasn't he? Limpar was just a brilliant football player. And I think for sort of 2 years, he was just incredible, wasn't he? In that team, he was just unbelievable.
Yeah. He made so many goals.
Alan Smith. Would you say Alan Smith's an unsung hero?
No.
I would say in a way you could say he is, because he was such a he was so, or sort of, he wasn't flamboyant at all, was he? He got golden boots. He was such a great player, but so down to earth, and he never.
He was playing with Ian Wright, and now you obviously get lost playing with Ian Wright. Yeah, Ian Wright was always in the.
Yeah, but he played before Ian Wright as well, didn't he? He played with Paul Merson for a number of years, didn't he?
That's
right, he maybe was. If you was to say, who's won golden boots for Arsenal, Alan Smith wouldn't be the first player people would think of. He won 2 golden boots with Arsenal, and maybe he's a little bit of an unsung hero, actually. I would maybe say that he probably is.
I was just looking at there's an old programme, and I just saw his name on the lineup.
No, I think you're right, actually, because I don't think he ever really got the credit he's deserved, maybe, for what he did for Arsenal. He scored 115 goals or so for the club. 2 golden boots, as Neil says there. 2 golden boots. He did indeed. He was a great player. And Neil says there he played brilliantly with Santi in that win against City at their ground.
Giroud.
Coquelin, I think you're talking about. Coquelin had a great game that day. And Neil says, love Podolski. Yeah, I think Podolski's a good shout, actually, because he, I wouldn't say he's necessarily a unsung hero because he didn't really achieve a lot with a club, did he? Maybe, but
he was played out of position. That's why, Richard.
Well, yeah, he was. He was a good character, though, wasn't he? He was a good character.
Play out of position.
Yeah, he did play out of position a bit like Arshavin actually. It's similar, wasn't he?
Exactly.
I look at them two being quite similar because they were very good players that we never got the most out of, and it never quite happened from Arsenal, did it? But they could have been brilliant for us, couldn't they? Both of them two. But yeah, there's certainly some great names on that list actually. Some of them players you think about, and and these are players that wouldn't even be considered any of the greats in the club's history. But what fantastic players they were, and what great things that they achieved with the club as well. And I think it's important that we don't forget about them because Steve Morrow's cup final winning hero. You know what I mean? And no one really talks about him anymore, do they? And then Andy Linnigan's another one. Broke his nose and scored the cup final winner. So some great names there actually. Some great memories actually. And that was a brilliant shout actually, Melvin, to come up with that as an idea because that was fantastic actually. I just enjoyed that so much. That was so good. We need to come up with something as good as that next time actually because that was brilliant. So yeah, that was great there actually. Some brilliant memories and good stuff. And we've got a game coming up this weekend actually, which we'll have to talk about before we finish against some little team from London somewhere. Now, of course, the good news is for me, West Ham have got far more important things to be concerning themselves about than playing us on Sunday, a certain Europa League Cup semi-final, which I'm sure they're going to throw every single effort into that, and they're not even going to be bothered about Sunday. They're going to play their youth team against us, and they're not bothered, are they? Because let's face it, we've done the same when we've been involved in European semi-finals. So I'm expecting West Ham to rest a lot. Not that they've got a lot of options because they haven't got no defenders fit for a start off. But I'm not expecting them to, out of the 3 games they've got between now and next Thursday, the Arsenal game is probably the least important to them, isn't it? Let's be honest, because their top 4 chances in the league now have pretty much disappeared anyway. They've got a lot of points to make up. So they're going to throw everything at the Europa League, and good luck to them. I hope they win it. But it's kind of played into our hands a little bit. I think the timing of some of our recent fixtures have been quite good. We played Chelsea just after they played the FA Cup semi-final, so maybe they were slightly distracted by that. We played Man United when they're just generally crap, so that worked out quite well. And now we're playing West Ham in between 2 legs of a European semi-final, the first European semi-final that they've had for about 50 years or whatever it is. So it's a good time for the game for us, isn't it, Melvin, in that sense? But we've got to take advantage of it. We can't just assume that West Ham are going to roll over because they probably won't. But we need to be ready for this game because it's still going to have its problems, isn't it? Even despite the issues that West Ham have got elsewhere.
We've got to forget about what problems they've got. They have got big problems. Just forget about that. Because if we think about their problems, we'll take our foot off the gas without even realising it.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Then we're playing a very good team.
Yeah.
Go for them. Forget about everything else. Because if you suddenly think it's like being 3-0 up, you do take your foot off the gas.
Like they did last season against us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No,
you just forget. But if you go out there with the mindset of, they've got a couple of reserves and they got a centre half and you'll play a different game. He's got to get that team, Arteta. He's got to do his job, Arteta, and get him mentally ready for the game. Because a lot of this game generally is about mental, how you go into a game. We must go in thinking we've really got to fight hard for this. We've got to win every tackle. We've got to boss it, and we've got to just go at them and take every chance we get. Anything less than that, and we will be struggling. And once West Ham, however poor their team might be on paper, if they suddenly go 1-0 up because we make a mistake and we haven't done what we're supposed to do, the crowd will get behind them and they will forget about how poor their team is. And they will just shout them on and they will probably beat us. So it's very important, the mindset we go into that game.
No, I 100% agree. And, I'm sure that, Arteta and the players won't be looking at it in the same way that maybe we can from outside, looking at it thinking, well, it's a good time to play West Ham. And I think it is a good time to be playing them, actually. I remember the season when we were in the semi-final Europa League, not last season under Wenger, when we lost the league game in between the 2 semi-finals away at Newcastle, because you are distracted. You've got a big semi-final that you're halfway through. So I do think it's a good time. But you're right, we've got to go there with the mindset that is going to be a difficult game, as all games are difficult, and approach it in the same way. And if we do that, we'll have a great chance, I guess. I mean, Dorsey, what are you expecting from this end? Because West Ham, although they've dropped away a little bit in recent weeks. They're unbeaten in 8 games at home, so they're pretty difficult to beat at the London Stadium, aren't they? So that's going to make it. We've got to factor that in as well.
Yeah, and it's not. Listen, for me, it's up until this point, it's the biggest game of the season because I think if we beat West Ham, I think we beat Leeds at home. That puts us on 66 points. Tottenham they got Leicester then Liverpool.
Yeah.
So, listen, I thought they were going to lose against City and they didn't. But you would expect with what Liverpool have got left to fight for, you would expect Liverpool to win that game.
But Tottenham would have expected us to lose to Chelsea and Man United, and we got 6
Of course
points.
they would have done. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm saying that Spurs losing to Liverpool is a gimme, but there's a strong chance that they'll lose to Liverpool, and I don't think Leicester's going to be an easy game for them. They looked toothless against Brentford.
They've got Europe as well, though. Don't forget.
Yeah, I know. But I think Brentford played really well against them. They were lucky not to get the win at the weekend.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
And listen, I'm being very, very optimistic here that we get 6 points and they get 1 out of their next 2 games, maybe a draw against Leicester, which I'm hoping for. I'm not saying it's going to happen, and then they get beat against Liverpool. And then the North London derby doesn't matter for anything other than bragging rights. But we'll see. But West Ham's a huge game. And I think if we win that, because I think if we still go into Newcastle away is going to be a really tricky game for us.
Yeah.
A really, really tough game. They look really, really good at home. And I go back to what I said actually on one of your podcasts, Rich, a while back. I said they were down, and I got that completely wrong because Eddie Howe's done a brilliant job in a very short space of time with them, and they look a really good side now. So that's going to be a tough game, and I don't really want to have to go into that needing to get 3 points if we can avoid it. So.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think the Leeds game is going to be easy because they've certainly picked up.
Easy, no, it's not going to be easy. But I would fancy us to beat Leeds at home, but then I fancied us to beat Brighton at home as well and Burnley at home.
Yeah,
but
exactly, yeah.
Football is football, and we're talking theoretically and based on paper stats. But
I mean, even if you're right, though, Dorsey, if we do win the next 2 and Tottenham only get 1 point, we'd only be 7 points above them going into the North London derby. So if we lost, that makes it 4 points with 2 games left. We've got Newcastle as one of them 2 games, and Everton who are fighting for their life. So it wouldn't be over.
I only did it quickly enough just while I was sitting there. But yeah, it's West Ham's huge. I think if we can beat West Ham, and I would fancy us to beat Leeds. I think that puts us in a really strong position, and the pressure will be on Tottenham going into the North London derby. And if we can avoid a defeat there, then I think we should be okay. But West Ham would be a tough game. It'll be a tough game, and even though they've got injuries, and obviously, like you said, they've got bigger games either side of us. We just have to take advantage of that. But like Melvin said, you just got to go into it with a mindset of any other game, and you go in there with to win it as if that's the best West Ham team you're going to face, and that's the mentality you got to go in with. And if we do that, then listen, we got 7 goals in 2 games and didn't score any before that. So I don't know what's going to turn up, mate. If I'm being honest,
that's the issue, isn't it? We don't know what Arsenal are going to turn up ever, do we? At the minute, it's like, are we going to get the Chelsea and Man United Arsenal? Are we going to get the Brighton and Southampton Arsenal? We just don't really know, do we? But ultimately, I'm still convinced that it's a good time to be playing West Ham. It couldn't have come at a better time for us actually at this point in the season. When they've got so many other distractions going on. I mean, Steve, we've got a great record at West Ham, actually. We've only lost once at the London Stadium since they moved there. That was that game when Declan Rice scored his first goal, actually, wasn't it? We lost 1-0, but that's the only time we've lost. I think it's 5 previous visits. So we've got a decent enough record on that ground. And even before Upton Park, we very rarely lost away at West Ham. It was one of our lucky grounds, really. So history's on our side, the presence on our side in terms of what they've got going on. So I'm assuming you're going to assume that we'll win this game quite easily.
I think, the bottom line is we play to our narrative, not to theirs and to anybody else that can really care less. The focus is we need to absolutely go at them 100%. I did see something about Kurt Zouma. Actually looks like he's making a swifter recovery. So I'll keep Arsenal cat out of his way. But we were going to. There was a hint of Kurt Zouma actually being back. But ultimately, I think you're absolutely right. They're talking about Declan Rice being in the in set the centre, and that's a Xhaka on the left kind of moment for Moisey, so he does that. So I'm pleased with that. I think for me, the big problem that we have is their strikers up front. They are actually quite they're quite good. They know what they're doing. As we move forward, I see us winning. I do see us winning. I see us actually turning up because of so much we got. Which has done well up until now. I just see from our perspective that we'll have enough power to actually get past them. The other one is Leicester Tottenham. I think it's at Tottenham's stadium. So they're in between the European thing. So I can't see Leicester winning that, if I'm honest with you. My heart of hearts, I'd like to see a draw. And I honestly believe Liverpool are just going to blow Tottenham out of the water. They're absolutely going to annihilate them. End of story. There's too much at stake for Liverpool not to actually go at them 100%. And they're just not that. And I don't think Tottenham are good enough to do it. I genuinely believe that West Ham game will win. I mean, it won't be easy, but we'll win. Leeds will win at home. I think Derby is going to be the the most important one. So I can't get my tongue straight. As for Everton, Newcastle's going to be difficult. We said this, Rich. With their money, that's going to be difficult. Everton, their fate will be sealed by the time they turn up at the Emirates. I know Frank.
I'm not sure if it will. It's going to be very tight down there, isn't it? I think they might need something from that game to guarantee survival. Either way.
Frank will try and destroy Frank will try and piss on our parade, whatever he does. Like, it doesn't matter where he is. But I genuinely believe they will know whether they're. But by the time they come to us, they will know. We also owe them. We owe them big time as well. Yeah, we do. Last game of the season at our home. I just got a feeling again we'll beat them this time because they played really well against Liverpool, but honestly they just haven't got it. They haven't got that up front. I think will be too much for them. That's my opinion.
I hope so. I mean, at the start of the season, when I saw the fixtures, I actually got quite excited that we were playing Everton at home last game of the season because pretty much every other season I can remember that we've played Everton at home last game of the season, we won a trophy. Because in '98 was our last home game and we won the double. We won the FA Cup in 2017. That was our last home game. We beat them. And 2002 was the last game of the season. We won 4-3 against Everton at home. We won the double that season. So I was kind of hoping that it would be another case of lifting a trophy after playing Everton at home last game, but obviously it's not going to be the case for us now. But I do think there's going to be a lot riding on that for Everton, actually, and possibly for us as well. That could be one of the big games of the season at both ends of the table, actually, that game, potentially still. It could be one of the most exciting games. But, I don't know. At the moment, it's difficult to know what to expect from Arsenal, so it's hard to predict the games in the future. It's hard enough to predict the games that's coming up directly now, so let alone the games that's coming up in 2 or 3 weeks' time. But we've got a good reason to feel fairly optimistic at the moment, the way things have gone the last week or so, which is great.
Totally agree. I think we'll see the same again. I mean, I'm going on Sunday. I can't wait. But we are going to see the same. I genuinely believe we're going to see the same again. I think we'll just be a little bit too much for them. And let's just worry about Sunday and the rest of it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's what we need to do. Take you one game at a time. Because obviously, if we lose to West Ham and Spurs do beat Leicester, then suddenly we're back out of the top 4 again, and it's the pressure's on again, isn't it? But let's see what goes on. I mean, we need a score prediction then, Melvin. What are you going to say then for West Ham away? A game that we generally do pretty well in, actually, historically. Last year was a good game, if you remember.
2-0 win.
Or a 2-0 win. That would be very, very nice, wouldn't it? A nice 2-0 would sort us out nicely. Dorsey, what are you expecting then? What are you thinking for Sunday?
The one good thing we have done is we've put United out the equation. That's the one good thing that we have done. So I think at least it narrows it down to a 2-horse race. I just wish the other one wasn't Tottenham. But in terms of Sunday prediction, I do fancy us to win. I think it'd be a tight game. I'm going to go 2-1.
Okay, 2-1 will do. Again, 3 points is all that matters really at this point in the season. It doesn't matter what we win by. Steve, what are you thinking then? I know you probably think we're going to win, which is good. What's your score?
I'm thinking 3-0. I generally think 3-0. I think we're going to go at them. We're going to give them a spanking.
Okay, well, who knows? Neil says they can't say anything but a win for us. Neil's gone even more optimistically 4-0. So there you go. That's
this
good. This
is when it backfires on us when we're all far
I
too
know. We mustn't be too confident because we've been too confident before and it's not worked. And Neil says, I think we'll win 4 and draw 1. I think winning 4 and drawing 1 is a nice thought, but I think that's maybe a tad optimistic, if I'm honest, looking at some of the games and what it means. At this point in the season, teams with something to play for and the teams you don't want to play. You want to play all the teams in mid-table that have got nothing to, they're not doing anything, or teams that are playing in cup semi-finals and got more important things to worry about. They're the games you want. And we've only really got West Ham. All the other teams that we've got to play have got something to play for, either relegation. Newcastle are just flying at the minute and they're not going to take it easy, are they? So, you know, I think we've got some tough games, but anyway, we can only do what we can do. Melvin, Neil says there, Melvin, if you're at the Leeds game, we should meet up. Are you going to the Leeds game, Melvin, next week?
Yeah, I'll meet. Yeah, I'll give you a call, Neil. Meet up, definitely.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. And Neil says they're top 10 villains for a subject. That could be good, actually. Top 10 villains. Oh, that could be an interesting one. That might be worth thinking about, maybe. We'll have to maybe look at that maybe for next week and see what we think about that. And Neil says, I predicted both wins against Man U and Chelsea scoring 7 goals. Trust Uncle Neil. Did you really? I don't know if that's true. If you did, that's a pretty good. You're probably the only person in the world who would have predicted us winning them 2 games, scoring 7 goals. So well done if you actually did. But so we'll go with 4-0 on Saturday then, because that's what Neil said, and he obviously knows what he's talking about. So we'll go with that then, 4-0. I actually think we will win. I don't think it's going to be as comfortable as 4-0.
Yeah.
I kind of like that 2-1 actually. I'm kind of feeling maybe a 2-1. I just kind of feel as that might be a likely score, but any victory will do. Of course, every game from now to the end of the season we'll take a 1-0, won't we? A scrappy 1-0 in all the games that will do us. But let's hope that it's a good game. Anyway, I might not be able to watch much of it actually, because I'm coming down on Saturday for the Arsenal women on the Sunday against Aston Villa. They kick off at 2:15, so it's not going to finish till about 4:15. And obviously the West Ham game starts at 4:30, so we've got to try and, you know, we're about half an hour away from where we're staying from the Arsenal women's ground, so I might miss the
Where's
first
the women's ground, Richard? Where is it?
Boreham Wood.
Boreham Wood.
Yeah, Hertfordshire.
We're
staying
on the box, isn't it? It's on the box, isn't it, the game?
The women's game.
I think the Arsenal West Ham game's on the box, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on the box, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll probably get back for the second half, maybe. I don't think, because, we'll be...
Where are you staying? Whereabouts are you staying?
We're staying at Hemel Hempstead. Just outside
Hemel
Hemel Hempstead. We're just staying there for a couple of nights for the game. So that'd be good, actually. But it's just... It's worked out badly, because next week, obviously, what I was hoping to do was, it's the last game of the season for the women away at West Ham. So what we were going on the Sunday, what we were going to do was come down on the Saturday, go to Arsenal Leeds on the Saturday, and then go to the Arsenal women's game on the Sunday. But then, of course, they've moved the Leeds game to the Sunday, and they kick off at virtually the same time. So I thought, oh yeah, cheers, thanks for.
You're actually going to the game, aren't you? Obviously, you're going to the Boreham Wood game. You're going live.
Yeah, I'm going there. Yeah, we're going to the game. Yeah, I've got tickets and everything already, so that'll be good. But yeah, they've left up my plans for next weekend, which is a bit annoying, because I was hoping to have done the 2 games. I was hoping to do the West Ham game this week on the Saturday, if it was on Saturday, and then the women's game on the Sunday, but they moved that to Sunday as well. But that's because of West Ham in Europe more than anything, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, TV unfortunately is a bit of a pain, moving games, inconveniencing everybody, but that's what they do. It's what they do best, isn't it? The TV. So we're used to it by now. But yeah, so I might not be able to see the first half. So hopefully all the goals will be in the second half. That'll be better, because I'll be able to watch them then. But as long as we win, I can't suppose it matters too much, really.
All 3.
All 3. Well, yeah, all 3. I mean, all of them, all 4 of them, like Neil's predicted in the second half would be nice, and I won't miss any of them. Neil says, he did predict it on the pod, did he? Oh, okay. Oh, in the chat, he said, okay, I'll check that then, just to make sure, because I don't remember that, but you maybe did. Because, I mean, you just said 4-0 for West Ham, and if we win 4-0, no one will remember that you predicted 4-0, because it would be an unexpected result, wouldn't it? So I'll check for, if you did, then, I mean, massive credit if you did, because that would be no one else in the world would have predicted. You should have put money on it, because you wouldn't be sitting here chatting to us now. You'd be in the Caribbean somewhere, probably on a cruise. But yeah, so some good predictions. We've all predicted a win, which is good, and hopefully that's what we will get, because I say every game now is massively important for our objective now, which is in control. The funny thing is, if this had been 7 or 8 years ago under Wenger, I wouldn't have had any doubts that we'd finish 4th. I wouldn't have had any doubts at all, because you just expected it, didn't you? Every year, you just knew that was what was going to happen. Regardless, I didn't even look at the fixtures coming out. I just thought, it doesn't matter who we're playing, we're going to finish 4th, because we always finish 4th, and I wouldn't have even been worried. But now, this Arsenal team is so unpredictable, and we've not been in this position, for quite a number of years, really 2 or 3 seasons. We've not been in a position for the top 4. So I'm not really certain what's going to happen in the next 5 games actually. But anyway, it's going to be exciting. I'm sure it's going to be tense and it's going to be quite nervy as well. I'm assuming. And Neil says our predicted 3 against Chelsea and 4 against Man U. We got the wrong way right. That doesn't count, then, does it? Oh dear me. But anyway.
Amateur.
I know, yeah. Think we're going to take him seriously when he got 3 against Chelsea and 4 against Man U. The wrong way around. That's ridiculous. But anyway, that was a pretty good shout either way, though, because I wouldn't have predicted either of them. Well, we didn't. We predicted defeats, didn't we, last week, Melvin? I think we did, didn't we? In both
I said we could beat Chelsea, if you remember. I said.
You didn't predict it, though, did you? I think you said 2-0 to Chelsea, didn't you?
Did I? Oh,
I think so.
I said that it reminds me when Wenger used to have such a bad run. He used to have one result to get him out of trouble, and this could be Arteta's one.
Yeah, you said we might beat them, but I don't think you predicted that we would. I think you still
all right. I was sitting on the fence. All right.
I think what Neil was saying
is he predicted
2 shots for Chelsea and 4 for Man United. That's what he predicted.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I predicted a loss and a draw actually in them 2 games. But having said that, when you look at the last 5 games, we've got 6 points out of 15. And actually, when you look at those 5 games on their own, you'd probably expect us to have got more than 6 points, actually, just in the other games. But it's just what it is, isn't it, I suppose? That's the unpredictability of Arsenal at the minute. That's why I can't think too much about this, where we're going to be, how we're going to do against Leeds, or how we're going to do against Newcastle, Everton, or anybody, because you just don't know, do you, with this team. You just can't predict it. And we just take what we get, and hopefully it's enough. But yeah, let's hope so. Anyway, that was quite good fun, actually. I really did enjoy that Unsung Hero bit. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. That was brilliant. Anyway, that was good. So Neil says, anyway, great chat as always. I loved it. All the joking aside, and it's not going to be easy. And we do need to take it 1 game at a time. Indeed, we do, yeah. Just need to keep the faith. Well, I think we've kind of got faith. I mean, I'm kind of not as confident, as I say, as I used to be about us getting top 4, but, you know, I'm sure we'll be there or thereabouts now. We're not going to be far away, are we, either way? So that's going to be good. Well, thanks all you guys, obviously, for watching and in the chats as well. Some good comments, as always. A few of the great players as well. Neil says there, take care, much love. And to you, mate, as well. We will speak very, very soon. I know that you'll see Melvin next week at the game as well against Leeds, which will be good. So, yeah, Melvin, thank you very much for coming on again. Did you enjoy the show?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks again, Richard. Steve again, hi. And nice to see Dorsey back. He's back. Dorsey is back. Hello. So, no, thanks very much. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
No problem at all. And Dorsey, again, I say it's good to have you back again. A couple of weeks you've been off. I can't remember the last time you was on, actually. It seems to be ages ago, but it probably wasn't. Probably a couple of weeks you've been off. But good to have you back. You enjoy it?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, no, it was really good. Like I said before, it's always nice to talk about Arsenal when you've won games. It makes it a bit easier, but it's squeaky bum time now, isn't it? So it's next 5 games. We'll see what happens, and I'm relatively confident as I can be, but also not going to be shocked if it doesn't work out for us. But we'll see. Like Neil said, we just got to keep the faith and see how it goes. But yeah, let's deal with West Ham first and worry about the rest of it after that. Exactly. But yeah, good to meet you, Steve. Really nice to meet you, Melvin. Good to catch up. Thanks for the tickets against Brighton, but next time, give me a better game, please.
That didn't go too well, did it? That didn't go too well.
The last game I went to before that was the West Ham game at home, just before the last game before lockdown kicked in. I haven't been since. So yeah,
wow.
All of that excitement, and that is what you gave me, Melvin.
Sorry, I apologise.
But what I will say is fantastic seats.
Good, aren't they?
Really good seats, and really good to meet your lad as well, Craig. It was good to spend a bit of time with him. He's a top lad. So thank you for the tickets.
Thank you. No, brilliant. Thanks.
And hopefully next time it'll be a better result, I suppose, at the end of it, which is to make it better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Melvin doesn't control the results as much as he would like to, which is a shame.
Why not?
I know. It's not good enough. Honestly, it's not good enough. We understand it's not good enough, but you know what can he do? He's doing his best, poor lad. He's trying his hardest. It didn't quite work on that particular day, but never mind. At least you had a good day. That's the main thing. Is ultimately, you know, it's good to be at the games, isn't it? Yeah, you want to see us win and get a load of goals, I suppose. But ultimately, it's just nice to be there sometimes, isn't it, and enjoy the day and experience of it all, and that's what it's about, isn't it?
I did have my first legal pint with my boy as well, which that will be a memory that will live forever. So that is, he turned 18 in January. He got COVID a week before his birthday.
Oh, bless him.
So we weren't really able to really do anything for it. But yeah, it was a great day with him. We had our first beer. That game will never leave my memory.
That's good. Excellent.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about, ultimately, isn't it? Sometimes the results almost secondary, isn't it, to a lot of other stuff.
Things like that, yeah.
You know what I mean? It is. I mean, yeah, obviously you want to see a win as well, but ultimately sometimes that isn't the most important aspect, is it really?
Yeah.
And it's good that, that was a great day. And that's the main thing, really, I suppose. And if we finish fourth, it won't matter, will it? That we lost that game. You'll part of the experience of it, or you can put that to one side and enjoy what it was. Steve as well, thanks for coming back on again. Always a pleasure.
Mate,
you enjoyed the show?
Oh, thank you so much for bringing me on and allowing me to rant and talk absolute, BS as I've been doing. It's always fun. It's always nice to meet like-minded people. So we're never ever going to agree on everything, but at least it's done in a positive and proactive way to a point. However, when I'm on the terraces, all bets are off because I scream and swear in multiple languages, and how I haven't been dragged out yet by the text police. That is something, Richard, we need to talk about on another day. But again, thank you for letting me come on. I'm looking forward to Sunday as I sneak in. I've got my ticket. I'm going to be sneaking in there and seeing what goes on. And look forward to coming back on again and sharing and pontificating from the bedroom. I'm going to find some new bed sheets for next time, so we'll mix it up a bit.
Have you got an Arsenal pillowcase or something that you can put on just to
over my head? I think my missus wants to put it over my head because if I scream anymore in the front room and go bananas, I think that's going to be it. She's going to kill me. So we'll mix it up a little bit. We'll go somewhere else next time if I come back on, mate.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, it'd be good actually to have some Arsenal bedding or something on there. That'd be nice for next time. I think that would look.
I'll let you speak to the missus about that. See how it goes.
You can take it off after the show. You haven't got to leave it on. Just put it on for a couple of hours. Take it off again. It'll be fine. It's not.
I'll sleep in the bed though. If there's the Arsenal bedding's on, I'll just be sleeping there, and she can stay where she is. I don't really care.
Well, there you go. Yeah, why not? I must admit, in my loft, I've got some Arsenal bedding. When I used to live on my own, I used to use it obviously on my bed, but obviously now you can't really do that, can you? So I it's up in the loft, but I would maybe get it down for special occasions, maybe. But we'll see.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'll get some Arsenal bedding for next time we're here.
Yeah, or an Arsenal cushion or pillow or something. Just to share the love of the club to everybody. That's what.
I'll put your thoughts forward to the head of soft furnishings at the. See where that takes us.
Yeah. No, I mean, if there's a problem, she can just email me and I'll sort it out. That's not a problem.
Oh yeah, I'll let you. Yeah, I'll give it straight to you, Rich, mate. You could deal with that one.
Yeah, I'll sort it out. Not a problem at all. So
I'll stick to the shirts. I think I'll stick to the shirts.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of easy with the shirts. You can just take them off and it's done, isn't it? It's not a big drama, is it? Really, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You've got a lot to choose from, which is nice.
Yeah, I've got a lot to choose from. Yeah,
different one every week, which I like actually. So it's never the same one. 2 weeks one. I mean, Melvin's shirt, is that the Ajax one, Melvin?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, actually.
I thought I'd do it. I'll wear it tonight because we beat the new Manchester United manager that we just beat on the Saturday. So
that was. I didn't connect the dots actually till you just mentioned that, but yeah.
I just thought.
I thought you were thinking maybe because Dennis Bergkamp was at the ground on Saturday, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was great as well, wasn't it? That was
it was great to see him there, wasn't it? So I thought
he might have been. He was in Piers Morgan though, wasn't he? Like, no, come on, be nice, guys.
There was loads of them there, though, weren't they? Henry was there, Nasri was there. There was loads of players there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might be to do with the email that they sent out about that new cultural situation that they're doing with the club to get the old culture back. So, let's bring a load of great old players back and maybe that will kickstart things off. But they all seem to be invited, didn't they? It was nice to see Thierry Henry and Bukayo Saka having some fun after the game on the pitch and Smith Rowe with Bergkamp and all that kind of stuff. It's nice, isn't it? Because, I think a lot of the players these days, apart from obviously our own academy players, I think some of the players maybe don't really understand what Arsenal's about, do they? Probably just because that's the way it is nowadays. And so having those great players there at the ground, I think that's actually a good thing that the club did to get them involved because I think it's important, isn't it?
Better than getting any bloody consultants around and spending millions on that. All you got to do is get one or two of those guys in.
Exactly. That's all you need to do. Get them in the
chain. You got to do. Job done.
I'd get them in the changing room before the game. You know, people like Thierry Henry and, you know, people that's won stuff with the club, knows what it means, and get them in there and say, you know what, you know what I mean? This is Arsenal. This is what we're about. This is, you know, and maybe that's what we need. I don't know, but
I don't recall Bergkamp being there, other than when he had his statue unveiled. I don't recall him.
No. Well, is his son still playing at Watford, or has he moved on from there? Because his son was at Watford, wasn't he?
Not sure.
Obviously they train next door, don't they, to us? James in the chat this evening. All nice to see you at the weekend, Melvin. Well played, Neil, on predicting the 7 goals and 2s. Oh, well, maybe he did that if James remembers it as well. Maybe I've just forgotten. Neil says, cheers, James. James says, blatantly filming something for the Amazon show. See, that's what I thought as well. I must admit, everything that happens at the minute, I'm convinced it's connected to Amazon in some way or other. Either Amazon have paid for it or they've sorted it out. It's their ideas. But I don't know. We'll see. And Neil's just come up with a late one for the unsung hero, Kleb. Was he an unsung hero?
No. He ran off to Barcelona and enjoyed that and then tried to rub our noses in it. Never. No.
Well, he did. Several of our players were off to Barcelona, didn't they?
I don't carry a grudge, though, Rich. I don't carry a grudge, Vlog, but no, definitely not. Absolutely.
Okay, no, all right, no problem. Well, Kleb doesn't get in there because Steve says so we're not having Kleb can't make it, unfortunately. He's been banished. Kleb's been banished from the unsung hero camp. He's not allowed
no statue for Kleb, none at all.
No, okay, fair enough. I mean, to be honest, he was a decent player, Kleb. I'm not sure if I'd have put him in the unsung hero category anyway. One, because he didn't actually win anything with us, particularly, did he? I can remember. He didn't, did he? No, he wouldn't have won any. He came, didn't he? He came just after the Invincibles, didn't he? And just after the Champions League season, he came after it, didn't he? Actually, no, did he play that Champions League season? He did, didn't he? He played the Champions League final, didn't he, Kleb?
I think he did. The other one was
the last season at Highbury, wasn't it? We signed him. No.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, yeah, because he did play that Champions League final.
The red shirt, the dark red shirt,
the black currant one, or red currant one, whatever it's called. Actually, James did a kind of good one. Nacho Monreal, that's a decent show. Actually, he was a steady old player, wasn't he? He was pretty good. We could do with him now, couldn't we? We need a new left back.
Yeah.
The other one, the worst accent has got to be, was it Jeremy Ali Dare? Like the worst French, like North London accent I've ever heard. He should be an unsung hero just for that.
What about Hector Bellerin? Because he's got like a Spanish North London accent as well, hasn't he? You must enjoy that one, surely.
Yeah, that's just really weird. I just want to, and with a silly moustache as well. It's just I apologise to all the people of Spain.
Don't say anything bad about Hector Bellerin. I love Hector Bellerin.
No, I like Hector Bellerin. He's just won the trophy, hasn't he, with Betis as well on loan? So fair play to him. He's a bit of a legend, actually. But he did regret the move, to be fair, says Neil. Yeah, he did sort of regret it, but anyway, it's tough luck, mate. You know, you're banished, and Steve's banished you from the club, so it's tough luck
sorry about that.
And James says Ali Adier is a big hero. He got to get Liana down in her prime. Well, yeah, I know, but we can't worry about that, can we? But I suppose that's a bit of a legendary status maybe for him. He does quite a lot of work, actually, doesn't he? On the sort of Arsenal online and that, doesn't he? On match days and stuff like that. Yeah. I've seen him on there a few times. He's quite a funny guy, actually.
He's hilarious. He's absolutely hilarious.
He is, yeah. He's pretty good. I do quite like him, actually, even though he wasn't a great player, was he? But anyway. But he just got a couple of good goals, didn't he, to be fair. So, yeah, that's the Tuesday clinic for this week then. That was quite a lot of fun in the end. And it was good. Obviously, some good wins. And we can look forward to West Ham at the weekend, which I'm sure is going to be a good game as well. And hopefully another 3 points in the bag as we move forward towards the top 4. Hopefully, wouldn't that be great? So thank you to everyone in the chat. I say, please give it a like before you leave as well. And if you are new, I know most of you guys in the chat have been here every week. So if you are new, please subscribe as well. And obviously, thanks to Melvin, to Dorsey, and to Steve, of course, for your contributions tonight. Really great stuff. Really enjoyed it. Look, we'll be back next Tuesday, looking back on West Ham, looking ahead to Leeds. A lot going on at the minute, exciting stuff. See, it's a good thing about the end of the season when there's something to play for, even if it's not a trophy as such. We still got something big to play for. Every game is important. I like that. That's what it's all about. Isn't it? I hate it when the season is just drifting along and you've got nothing to play for. All the games are just crap. But I kind of like this, even though it's tense. Neil says, fab stuff, lads. See you all soon. Yeah, we'll see you soon, mate. Take it easy. And to everybody else as well. Actually, I need to get that off the screen because it's taking up too much space. Right, there we go. So thanks to all you guys. Thank you for watching. Thanks to Melvin Dorsey and Steve. I will be back actually tomorrow. I've got a West Ham fan, James, coming on. We're going to be talking about the game in a bit more detail with him, and obviously talking about the Europa League semi-final, what West Ham have been doing under David Moyes as well, and a few bits and bobs. That's tomorrow at 7:30 on the channel. That is going to be good stuff. So please join me for that. And that might be it for this week, actually, because I'm away the weekend, going down to watch the Arsenal women. So I'll be doing some live stuff from that game on Sunday as well. So there'll be loads of stuff coming up as usual. And of course, next Tuesday we'll be back with the Tuesday Clinic. So look forward to seeing you all then. If you are around tomorrow, please tune in for that. I'll say it's going to be good. Speaking about the West Ham game, all things Arsenal West Ham, that's going to be pretty good. That is tomorrow at 7:30. So please join me for that. And in the meantime, of course, as always, come on, you Gunners, another win at the weekend, please.
We've got this.
We've got it.
Okay, guys.
Hope so. See you later, guys. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.